You're listening to the Bourbon Nerds Podcast, episode 11, Maker's Mark and the Funky Bunch.
It's a good vibration.
Do, do, do. I'm Cody.
I'm Garrett.
And we are the Bourbon Nerds, featuring Ethan Adams.
Guess who's back?
Back again. Ethan's
again.
back.
Yeah.
Tell a friend.
Ethan's back.
Guess who's back?
Tell your friend.
Friend.
I'm not convinced that you two were just doing the same song.
Yeah, I think we totally blew it.
He's got like the Hooked on Phonics version.
Hey, I'm smarter than you.
Are
Everybody
you
knows.
smarter than a teenager
Yeah.
or a kindergartner? Is that what it's called? The
Yeah,
show?
I don't know.
Are you smarter than a kindergartner?
Well, Ethan, how you feeling today? Welcome back, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I'm excited to be here.
I never thought we'd have you back on the podcast, honestly.
I
After
didn't either.
how miserably it felt. No, actually, we had a good time. Episode 8.
I think it was a great episode.
Yeah, I think that's the best episode we've had. Even my fiance was like, man, y'all should have Ethan on more often. He's better than you guys. And I was
Yeah,
like,
and then Cody called me at about 1:30 a.m. one night crying, saying, Ethan, we need you on the pod.
yeah, we can't do this.
need you.
We can't do this without you, man. So, yeah, no, we've got a really good podcast today. We are going to talk about some Maker's Mark.
Also, I want to add real quick, we are not live, but we are in my in-laws' cabin area, which is the Last Wild River Resort.
Yes.
But we're in the saloon part of it, and we're surrounded by a lot of cool cowboy memorabilia. And yeah, it's really fun up here.
Yeah, in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, it's absolutely breathtaking up here. The river running, just the water.
There's still some snow on the
there's
ground.
snow on the ground.
Yeah, which is wild.
There's deer frolicking over in the vast woods.
There's some wild boars out there just ready to destroy.
ready to attack. There's diamondbacks sleeping in their little burrow, waiting for the sun to come out and temperatures to warm up. So
The sun will come out
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
All right, so we've got, again, we're going to talk about Maker's Mark. From Nerd Rage, we're going to talk about Lord of the Rings. There's actually a new anime movie that just came out. You got The Ring of Power, Season 2, so quite a bit to talk about. I think Ethan will have a lot to say. Whiskey Sideline, we're going to do a little Super Bowl predictions, have a little conversation around that, and we're going to talk about some of the coaching changes happening in football. Pop Culture Pour, we're going to talk about our favorite Westerns, maybe recap some of the Penguin. I think Ethan just finished that series.
Yeah, we're surrounded by a
Yes.
lot of Western memorabilia. Like I'm looking at an 8 Seconds poster. There's a lot of Tombstone stuff. So I just thought it would be a good episode to talk about some Westerns
Yep.
and, yippee-ki-yay, mother trucker.
Yeah, that's a great line. Also, maybe some music that hits pretty hard in some movies. Neat and Balanced, I'm going to talk about some sweeteners that I would recommend. And Last Call, we're going to talk about, whatever we feel like in Last Call. Whatever
Yeah,
we do.
we'll figure it out when we get there.
Yep, absolutely.
You're going along the journey with us.
I already said absolutely.
So there you go. So what kind of bourbons do we have here, Cody?
We've got two pretty good little pours. We're actually doing something a little different. We're doing a Someone Says Whiskey store pick, which is the one you're holding. I'll let you talk about that. And then
Yeah, and the reason we picked this is because it was the same proof or similar proof. This is 110.2, and that's 110. But this is a Maker's Mark pick. It's called Stave Wars. It looks like the stave on here is Baked American Pure 2, Maker's 46, Roasted French Mindiet. I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about these Stave Wars, but I do like the Someone Say Whiskey picks. This one is not my favorite, but
how dare you?
it can't all be winners.
They're going to kick you out of the group. No.
You can't get it anymore. We picked up that. What is that one? What was
The
that
Russells?
one called? Yeah, it was
Every Day I'm Rustling.
Every Day I'm Rustling. Yeah, that one is. Yeah.
Which is hilarious because we were talking about doing a Russell's episode. And I'm like, I want to name it Every Day I'm Wrestling.
We still can. They can't own it.
Yeah, and so I've got the cast strength Makers, which is around $40 to $43, depending on when you buy it. You can buy it, prices vary. So $40 to $45. It is 110 proof, 55% alcohol by volume, and it is very good. I have not had this in a while. I know Garrett gave me a sample a while, and I've been a big Makers fan. I wasn't always a Makers fan. It took me a little bit. Actually, when I lived in Barbados for a couple of years, they didn't have a lot of bourbon, so I started drinking Makers, and it grew on me. And I'm a big fan. It's a weeder. The mash bill is 70% corn, 16% red winter wheat, and 14% malted barley. So yeah, well, let's go ahead and dive into From Barrel to Brain.
Real quick, Ethan,
Yep.
what do you think of these so far?
The Some Would Say Whiskey, I think, is better.
Really?
Really?
It seems a little softer to me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's makes sense because the
It's
cask
smoother,
strength.
maybe?
What's the proof on the Someone Say Whiskey?
110.2.
So it's more
Right
proof
about the
than the other
same,
one.
yeah.
5.2.
0.2. I mean, that's a lot, dude. That can change your life.
I have a quick question. So
Yeah.
I know you guys are about to do From Barrel to Brain, but the logo for Maker's Mark, do you guys have any idea what that means? Like it's an S and then it looks like a Roman numeral 4. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, right here.
Mm-hmm.
I do not actually.
Hmm.
That's a good question. I've never even really
That's
thought
probably
about
Never looked at it
which
twice.
company did you say owned them?
it.
Did you say
Centauri. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Centauri.
probably Centauri. It's probably their stamp.
Yeah, it's probably Centauri. Yeah, which they actually. Well, we'll talk about that. We'll get
Okay,
into
okay.
that for a second. But, anyways, let's dive into From Barrel to Brain. Unless you guys have something else to interrupt me about. No, okay.
I think I'm ready to pick a winner.
We'll think of something.
I'll take short pants for $500, Alex. I'm just checking. Maker's Mark is a bourbon whiskey that was created by T. William Bill Samuel Sr. In 1953. The brand is known for its smooth flavor and distinctive red wax seal, which I think is really the iconic thing with Makers. Every bottle is hand dipped.
Everybody wants to look for the slam dunk bottles.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So that means you see the red wax here.
Mm-hmm.
The slam dunk ones will just like cover the whole top of it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, whoops, we got a little handsy with that.
Sometimes we'll just
Maker's
do it on
bottle.
purpose, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah, so Samuels purchased the Burke's Distillery in Loretto, Kentucky, for $35,000 in 1953. Production began in 1954, and the first bottles were bottled in 1958. So again, they experimented. Red Winter wheat is there, so they replaced with the rye. That's really what they're known for. So Samuel's wife Margie influenced the bottle shape label with the red wax seal. Again, I can't wait. I know Garrett and I are targeting to go to Kentucky in August, September time. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully going to the distillery and dipping my own bottle. I think that's just something iconic that everyone should do.
Oh, they let you do it yourself?
Yeah, they let you do it.
That's
And
neat.
they don't charge you any more. They charge you the MSRP for like a normal Maker's bottle. I think you can dip any bottle that you purchase. So obviously, I think I would do the cask strength.
How neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. The brand has been owned by several companies, including Hiram Walker and Son, Seagram, which had a bad fate, Allied and Dominique, Fortune Brands, and Beam Incorporated, which was then bought by Suntory, which is Beam Suntory, I think, and then Suntory rebranded the name to Global Spirits. The Samuel family still runs the distillery, which is located at Star Hill Farm. And yeah, that's what I know. You've got some fun facts and things that you want to share about Makers as well.
So I just have where the birth of the name came from. So the name Maker's Mark was inspired by the master craftsman's marks found on fine English pewter. Co-founder Margie Samuels, an avid collector of pewter, suggested the brand name to signify the excellence and meticulous craftsmanship of their bourbon. This name reflects the dedication to perfection that is still evident in every bottle produced today. Tor offers insight into such thoughtful origins, enriching your appreciation for the brand. And then you already went over the red wax and how we can dip it ourselves at the distillery. So that's a really fun fact, and hopefully we can do that when we go to Kentucky. There's just so many to visit. We'll just have to plan that a lot better when we start getting closer.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so we were talking about in May 2024, Maker's Mark owner Beam Suntory was rebranded as Suntory Global Spirits, so included in the launch of their new website and visual identity. So, yeah, Suntory Global Spirits, they own quite a bit. I mean, a lot of those. You think about, we talked about Four Roses the last episode too. They're owned by the Kirin Distillery, so the Japanese own quite a bit of our bourbon that we're drinking. So, makes sense why they're making some good whiskey as well, which we need to dabble more into some Japanese whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Anything else you want to talk about? I mean, I think overall, just to give you our thoughts outside of just going through the history, I think Makers is a great product. I think they have a wide variety. We have quite a bit of bottles in front of us, from their basic offering, which I think is a great mixer, to you can sip on it. Just some would say Whiskey Pick's pretty decent. Not my favorite, pick that they've done, but I think it's good. And this cask strength is fire. And then we really like And this is really important, and I'm going to go in on a little tangent. So, and this is not any slack or talking bad about the Bourbon Junkies, but they were like, oh, we don't really like Maker's Mark Cellar Age. It's not our flavor. They were saying the Heartland edition or whatever was better.
The Heart Release.
Yeah, the Heart Release. And, Garrett was able to trade for a bottle, and we tried it, and we instantly fell in love with the bottle. Like, I am, as much as I was talking about Russell's 15, which I got a bottle finally, thank goodness, I really want a bottle of Maker's Mark Cellar Age. I think it's one of my favorite bottles I've had. Like, I can't wait. I hope they come out with a 2025 edition. I want to put it probably in my top 5 best bourbons. And it's very good. We're actually going to be doing a side-by-side comparison between the 2024 and 2023.
And that video should be out when this podcast is. So go over to YouTube and TikTok and check it out.
Yep. Please like, subscribe, comment. Again, we're trying to get, grow the channel, grow the pod. We've got lots of things we're working on, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the podcast. So, all right.
I want to say the cask strength, might be the cheapest bottle that you guys have let me try. I don't know if there have been any cheaper ones that you guys have poured for me, and it certainly doesn't taste like the cheapest one. It's very good.
No, cask strength always helps, and that's the thing that people really got onto Maker's Mark, because they just refuse to do like cask strength or older stuff, and then now in the past few years they've come out with the cask strength. I believe that's only they've only been doing that a couple of years, and then they've only been doing the cellar age for a couple of years. Before that, you basically just got basic Maker's Mark is all you could really get, and then the picks and stuff. So, you couldn't even really get the higher proof picks. So they finally kind of started listening to, what everyone was wanting, and they're like, okay, well, we'll start doing some of that. And it's some of the best stuff. Like, seriously, like
the monetary value of it. I don't know. It seems like a really good value bottle to me.
Agreed. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's a great point. Also, too, when we smell and drink these, every maker smells very similar. Makers taste very similar, but there is a distinctive difference as, you compare these two. Also, I get a lot of caramel. I get some of the grain wheat. Get a little spice, a little baking spice on it, especially this cask strength. It just punches through really well. I think it's really well balanced. There's not a lot on the front palate, but mid to back to the finish is pretty solid. Also, in this, someone say whiskey's a little punchier or it's got a sharper note to it.
I think that's the staves that they put in it too. Like I've noticed that with some of the things like that.
Yeah.
They put staves. I will say though, I just poured this Maker's 101 and it has by far the best nose of the 3 that I've.
Can I smell it?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna steal your glass. Oh yeah, that 101 smells yummy.
Yeah, it smells just like a caramel vanilla bomb.
And that's also another. I think what is it? Like a $45 bottle.
Yeah, around that range.
Yeah, around that range.
It's just like the flavors don't pop as much as the cask strength, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think it's a lot better, way better than the regular offering.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Anything else to talk about these two giants? And we'll crown a winner here later. I'm going to interrupt Garrett or Ethan when they're talking.
I mean, the cask strength, I think, beats the Someone Say Whiskey, personally. I think Ethan said he liked the Someone Say Whiskey, so.
We'll see. I'm about to sit on it for a little while.
Yeah, let's sit on it. I'll come back to you. So, all right, it's time for Nerd Rage. Nerd Rage.
No.
Batman. No, we're gonna talk. Let's talk about a little bit of Lord of the Rings. Let's get real nerdy, guys. Do y'all feel nerdy? I feel real nerdy right now.
Real quick, what's the best movie from the whole series?
Ooh,
it's very debatable. It depends on what your metrics are for best. Do you like action sequences? Do you like awards? Do you like acting performances? For me personally, the answer is the first one, Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay. It's a good one.
I feel like that one has some of the best performances of the entire trilogy because that's the only one that Sean Bean is in, for example. I guess he's in the extended version.
I mean, he just dies in everything though.
And he's just so good.
Yeah,
and
he's good at dying.
He's very good in it. And you get all the sequences of the Fellowship all together. The Moria sequence is like 20, 30 minutes. And I think is the high point of the entire trilogy. I love it.
My axe and my bow.
Yes, you do. You also get, it starts off with the Hobbiton stuff, and there's just a lot of nostalgia and like happy go-good feelings about the Hobbiton stuff at the beginning. I don't know. The first one is definitely my favorite, but the others are just as good.
Have you ever seen that video that was on there? It was like they're taking the hobbits to Isengard, and
Yeah,
they
it's
turned it
10
like a
hours
whole
long.
new. It's so
That's funny.
just like a dance lead. He's just like they're taking the hobbits to Isengard, guard. And
they make it a dubstep song,
They
yeah.
actually got him on camera, and they were going back and forth between him and the video, and it was super funny. If you haven't watched that, I'll have to show it to you later, but it cracks me up.
I personally like the Two Towers. I think that's the action in that one is good.
That one is it's much more of a slow burn. There's
Yeah.
that one's kind of I don't know. If you watch the extended versions, which I always do, there's not much that happens for a long period of time.
Yeah, I guess
but
it's
then it's
pretty
got
slow.
the huge action sequence at the end that's
Yeah.
just so legendary.
I guess it's so climactic, maybe, because I was really looking forward to it.
I guess I got to go with the return, even though there's only one return, and it's not of the king, it's of the Jedi. I had to throw that in there. Have you ever watched Clerks 2?
I haven't seen
Oh
Clerks
my
2.
god, there's a
Clerks
whole
2.
sequence where
good.
so one of them is like a huge Star Wars guy, and then the Elias is like this Lord of the Rings guy, and he holds this onion ring and goes, "One ring to rule them all." And then they go into this whole thing, and he eventually makes one of these like Lord of the Rings dudes comes in like throw up because he's talking about like Frodo and Sam being gay or something. I don't know.
Gosh.
It's hilarious. I'm gonna have to show you that later. It's
Yeah, we'll have to watch
I love
that.
Clerks 2. It's one of my
I've
favorite
seen
movies.
Clerks too. It's been a long time. I know a little bit about. It's just really fuzzy for me.
He's like, here's the first movie, and it's just him walking. He goes, here's the second movie, and he walks and he like stumbles. He goes, are you ready for the third movie? And he just takes up and he throws the ring and he goes, And he goes, damn. And this guy in the background's like, damn right. But no, I love the return. I love the whole battle sequence.
Yeah, the
And
battle
it just
sequence
kind of
is
like,
good.
It's got the Rohirrim charge.
and everything just
Yeah.
kind of happens all at once. And I don't know, it's so good. The whole battle, yeah, everything's good.
I mean, it's so hard to pick, honestly. You could probably ask me tomorrow and I'd be like, The Return. I go back and forth. The first one's good too. I understand why you like that one. They're all great movies.
So the answer is not one of the Hobbit movies.
No.
No, I don't think so.
I don't.
How many how many new storylines did they create for the Hobbit? Because I've gone through and it seems like there's like 10 of them.
Yeah,
And then
something
also
along
the
those-
smog thing is kind of anticlimactic, and
Yeah, because they kill Smaug at the end of the second movie or something.
well, and
think
it's
they
like
do.
it's weird. Like, well, he flies off and then he goes and burns. He flies off at the end of the second movie, and then he shows up at the beginning of the third one.
Oh, and
then they kill him.
that's right.
But I'm just like, well, that's stupid.
Why would you do that, idiot?
Well, I mean, I think they had to do it that way because they wanted to create the whole like Battle of Five Armies things.
Yeah,
Which
what
in-
were the fire armies,
Well,
by the way?
the five armies were what? The dwarves,
The dwarves, orcs, humans, elves.
elves, and goblins, I believe. I think there were like different sects of orcs and goblins, right?
So I was going back through and kind of rewatching like a recap, and he didn't know what the fifth one was. I don't think it was goblins. It was he was like, well, maybe it was this. I don't even remember what it was. I wish I'd have wrote it down, but he's just like, you can't really figure out what the fifth one is. You're just assuming it's there, and then I don't know. I was kind of watching a recap of everything because it's been a while since I watched the movies, and I'm like, yep. Because the book's like what 350 pages long.
The book's it's very short, yeah.
And so you're trying to stretch
Yeah.
it into a trilogy so you can make money,
Yes.
essentially. And
Yeah,
it's just like,
that's a
I
cash
wish they
grab
wouldn't
for
have.
sure.
Which I think you said there was a cut where they cut them all together, where it's just one.
Yeah, there was a old like fan edit that I saw that was about 4 hours long, and it just cut out everything that was not in the book. So it was just like a strict, true to the book adaptation.
Which makes more sense to me.
Yeah, you guys both. I think you haven't seen the Lord of the Rings, the War of the. Is it Rohirrim?
Rohirrim, yeah.
Rohirrim. Yeah, I always mispronounce that for some reason. I'm not as nerdy as you. I'm just joking.
You're not as nerdy as me, but you have seen it, and I have not.
I have
so-
seen it. Yeah, I guess my nerd value's higher than yours.
Yeah,
my power
at
is
this
over.
time it is.
Power is over 9,000, but. Some people will get that joke. But,
It's over 9,000.
oh my god. Anyways, yeah, I mean it's okay. It escalates really quickly. I think it's worth a watch. If you like Lord of the Rings stuff, it kind of plays into the main character's a chick and she's pretty awesome.
Isn't it set quite a ways before?
Yeah, it's set. I think I don't
Okay.
remember the timeline. It's set hundreds of years, millions. No,
I do have some questions because you guys have both watched the Rings
Ring
of
of
Power,
Power,
right?
Yeah.
So I've heard by a lot of true Lord of the Rings people that they hate it, and you guys seem to like it. And so I just want to read some of the criticisms, and then you guys can kind of tell me why that's wrong.
I'm going to punch you in the throat.
So it has some significant alterations to Tolkien's established lore, poor characterization, rushed storytelling, a lack of focus, too many storylines and characters, dialogue that feels unnatural, and a perceived lack of stakes in the narrative. Would you agree or disagree with any of those?
So it's kind of hard to say. So I'm a big Tolkien nerd. You know, I read these books about every year or so, and there's not much in there that deviates from the books. There are a few things, like there was the Mithril explanation and some small character things that kind of differentiate from the show to the books. But most of the complaints that people have about the show is like generic storytelling stuff. It's not necessarily because of it's a Lord of the Rings story reasons. Does that make sense?
Well, one of the criticisms I hear is the orcs and them trying to like humanize the orcs and stuff.
Yeah,
and
that's something that Tolkien kind of hinted towards, but never got to before he passed away. And his son kind of fleshed it out a little bit. And this past season had full on, like, there was a family. There was a guy who went home and had a wife and baby orc, which is kind of deviates a little bit from the Tolkien, like true Tolkien origination of how orcs came to be. But I don't know. I don't really have any issues with it because it wasn't specifically stated anywhere.
Yeah, and the reason I haven't watched it is because I've just heard so many mixed things. I'm like, I really love The Lord of the Rings, and The Hobbit's one of my favorite all-time books. That's why the movies have disappointed me. And I'm like, man, I've had so much disappointment from this, you know.
It's not Star Wars disappointment though. Let's be clear.
It's not.
Like, and I do understand some of the criticism. Like, some of this story does seem rushed. They changed, like they deviated a little bit, but again, the Lord of the Rings is about the characters. It's about the beautiful, like most wonderful landscape pictures.
The world, yeah.
The world. It's like almost playing, like being inside a video game kind of, you know, right? You see the world when you're traveling or on. I mean, some of the screenplay, some of the most beautiful scenery you'll ever see in your life. So I think it lives up to it. I mean, I highly recommend you should watch it and then, you know, give us your own opinion on what you think.
It suffers from a lot of, I feel like, modern TV show tropes.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Trolls.
Well, and also a lot of things back in like the early 2000s just look so much better than what things do today. And it's just because they use way too many, like they used CGI back in the day, but it looked good. Like a good example is Pirates of the Caribbean, you know, when they did Davy Jones.
Oh, with all the tentacles
like
and
that
everything?
looks fantastic. And if they did that today, it would look stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. And I guess it's just because CGI has gotten so much more expensive or whatever. But I wish people would go back to practical effects because it's effective. It costs a little bit more money and takes a little bit more time, but it's so worth it in the end. I did want to ask, because going back to the Hobbits, why did they bring back Legolas?
So because of how everything lines up, it kind of makes sense that Legolas would be there. I mean, they go through Legolas's home, 60 years before the events of the movies.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And they meet his dad, like his dad's kind of a character. So it somewhat makes sense that Legolas would be there. And it even kind of makes sense that they would have maybe run into like a teenage Aragorn at the time as well. But they didn't do that in the movie. And
his CGI jumping on people's heads and stuff. And I'm just like, dude.
Yeah.
I hate CGI.
A lot of that stuff is my issues with those movies as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Legolas is
one of the worst
character.
uses of CGI has to be the Scorpion King in The Mummy 2.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The
that's
Rock.
so bad.
It just looked like a PS2 game.
Yeah, it's just like, come on, guys, you can put a little more. And like, there are people like
the
on
knockoff
YouTube.
version.
There are people on YouTube who take those moments and they like create. They're like, here, you just do this, this, and this, and look, it looks better.
Yeah.
Like, dude, they put like zero effort into making that look better.
So my wife and I lately have been rewatching the Harry Potter movies, and we've watched the first two within like the last week or so.
Yeah.
And some of the special effects in those are so good. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been some times where like there'll be someone flying off on a broom, and you can tell they're on some lines hanging from something above them. But other than that, it holds up.
Oh, the demon from Spawn. Have you guys watched the Spawn movie?
Yeah. Spawn movie.
The big demon that his mouth doesn't even move.
Like, uh-oh. Yeah. Man, I love Spawn. Not that movie, but just like the characters. And
I like the
that.
movie. I mean, John
okay.
Leguizamo isn't who I would have thought would play the clown. I can't think of his character's name, but I mean, he thought he did okay.
Insane Clown Posse? No.
Oh, gosh.
I'm just checking. Yeah. All right. What else? What else about Lord of the Rings? I mean, it's a good show. I recently rewatched those. What, about 3 or 4 months ago? I was
Some of
on
the
plane.
one of the things that sticks with me the most from those movies is the music. The music
Oh,
is
yeah.
it's some of the best soundtrack.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Agree.
Misty mountains cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The music, the scenery.
You
like
know,
we talked
whenever I
about.
heard that song, because they put like they put it in the book, and
Yes.
so when I heard the song, I was like, dude, that's exactly kind of how I was making it. Like, well, and I think I watched the animated Hobbit, and it's similar to that, I guess. Now that I'm thinking about it, did you ever watch the animated Hobbit?
I don't know. Was there an animated Hobbit? I remember there was an old like Lord of the Rings from the 70s.
No, it was the Hobbit
No,
because
there
we
was
watched
a-
it after we read the book in
Oh,
school.
okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's pretty good.
I
No,
haven't
I've
seen it
not
in a long
seen
time.
those old animated ones. So I was introduced to it from my cousin who showed me the movies when they came out, in the early 2000s. But I've never gone back and watched those old cartoon ones.
Yeah,
It's pretty good. It's similar to the book, so it's more of a accurate depiction.
Now that I say that, it's kind of weird. As much of a Tolkien nut as I am, that I've never done that. But I don't know. I think I'm just so satisfied with how the movies are that I don't feel the need to just go look for other.
I mean, I'm a huge
adaptations.
Ninja Turtle guy, but I haven't watched the musical or anything.
Yeah.
Then you're not a real Ninja Turtle fan. No, I'm just saying.
Go Ninja, go Ninja, go.
So like we talked about what's favorite movie. What's your favorite like scene in the Lord of the Rings, the 3 movies?
Ooh, that's tough.
So I really like the scene, and the reasoning behind this is the scene where he goes and they find all the burned bodies, and he thinks that Pippin and
Merry and Pippin.
Oh,
Merry and
yeah,
Pippin
they're
are burnt.
dead.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
so he kicks the helmet, and then he lets out that like That's because he actually broke his foot kicking
Yes.
that helmet.
Oh wow!
And
I
so
didn't know.
there's a lot of fun behind the scenes of those kinds of things. But I really like that because his actual emotions are going into that. And it is like oh my God, they actually burnt them. There's a lot to that scene, either that one or whenever they're next to each other and he's like, well, I never thought I would be fighting with a dwarf before. And he's like, well, how about fighting with a friend or fighting with an elf? Yeah. What I mean?
Yeah, you got that backwards, but yes.
Yeah, you got it backwards, but
It's
that's
been a
so
while
many-
since I've seen the movies, but
There are so many great little moments like that. I guess little one-liners, like the not the beard when he's
or the Army of the
Yeah.
Dead Undead was pretty cool
Yeah,
too.
that is pretty
And then
cool.
they just kind of disappeared. Like, oh, well, they probably needed you for the second tower, but that's okay.
So I think my favorite part is when Gandalf, they show the story of him fighting the demon.
Oh, the Balrog?
Balrog, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a dream sequence.
Yeah.
That was sick.
Yeah.
I think that was really cool.
The-
And he
for-
turns into the white wizard. Is that the party?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when he comes back.
No, so what you're talking about is a dream sequence that Frodo has,
Yeah.
but it's just like Frodo imagining what he thinks would have happened.
Oh, okay, yeah. But for some reason, that's always stuck with me.
I mean,
I've
that is a
always
sick
enjoyed-
fight, though.
It is.
There's
That's
a
an
very
awesome
scenic
fight.
moment of like a super wide shot of this cavern space, and you see them falling down, and they're
Yeah.
super small in the middle of the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That part always stuck with me.
For me, it's definitely the Moria sequence from the first movie. I love it all. Like they
Yeah.
get trapped in there, they realize, oh no, all of these dwarves are dead. There's no one here to greet us.
Oh yeah,
row.
that's such a cool
And
spot.
then it opens up, and there's like this beautiful music swelling where Gandalf turns on the light on his staff, and they get
Yeah.
a full view of the whole area, and then they see Dalin's tomb over to the side. Oh no!
Yeah, that's I think too. Like when you think about I just rewatched them 3 or 4 months ago. It's like I learned something new. They're so long and they're so good. Like you're like, oh, I forgot about that. Like I think you could read. Those are great movies. I think to rewatch. Obviously, you need a lot of time because they were very long.
Especially the extended cuts.
yeah, extended cuts. Good God, it's like the Snyder's cut or whatever.
I mean, yeah, they're about 4
take some
hours
bathroom
each,
breaks.
something
Yeah,
like that.
for sure.
The scene where they're all together and they're about to do the fellowship, and they're like, "Who's going to take the ring?" And then Frodo's like, "Well, I'll take it." And that whole scene was really cool. And then there was another one that stood out that I just went blank on, but. Like there are a lot of just little scenes that you could go on forever. and
Yeah,
just
there's
pick-
in the third movie, one of my favorite sequences is Gollum tricking Frodo into thinking that Sam ate all the bread,
oh,
and he tosses it off, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Ooh,
That really-
sneaking! What do you
I
mean?"
love Gollum.
that gets under your skin.
His whole
I'm
thing
like,
is
that little bastard.
His whole thing is super sad.
My precious.
Oh, it was
How
when,
is it? Why
was
is
one-
it sad?
like he was tempted by the ring, and then he chokes out his friend.
Yeah,
and
he like kills his
Yeah.
brother.
turned into a just a creature. I don't know. I think that's kind of
evil
sad.
creature.
I guess yeah, he's just a victim.
The
in
other
all of
one
it.
I was thinking of was when Frodo just drops, and then Sam just carries him. It's like,
Yeah. Oh, that's
I'm
awesome.
gonna
Can't
take
carry
you
the
up.
ring, but I'll
Yeah,
carry
I'll
you.
carry
that
you.
that whole sequence, like where he comes back and helps him fight the spider off, and that's I don't know.
The
That's
end
so
of that
good.
movie with those two and their relationship, I don't know. You can really see that Tolkien was a soldier in an actual world war. And
Yeah.
he probably had a connection like that with someone that he met on the battlefield or something along those lines.
Oh,
Do you feel it's weird that there's like 5 different endings at the end of the movie? You're just like, oh, here we go. Oh, wait. Oh, it's still going.
They got the ring. Oh, no. Now he's king.
no.
Oh, no.
And
Gotta go back
okay,
home.
That's
We're
another
still-
thing Randall makes a joke of. He's like, there's one logical closure point, not 5 different ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it ends with they destroy the ring, and then they go back to Minas Tirith, and Aragorn's crowned, and then, or I guess before that, everyone has to wake up, and they have their nice little moment in the room when Frodo wakes up.
Yeah.
And then they crown
Pillar
Aragorn king,
fight. Yeah.
and then they go back home to Hobbiton, and then they sail off in the ship. I guess that is 5
That's
Well,
endings.
and then Sam has a family.
Yeah, and then it
Dude,
ends
that's-
with Sam and
That's
Rosie
funny
Cotton.
that you guys say that because I was watching them back and forth when I was traveling because I travel a lot. So I watch the movies on there and I saw the Lord of the Rings on there. But I remember the last one I'm watching. I was like, I need to use the restroom, and I'm like, okay, it's over. Nope, we got another point. Oh, he goes back. He's got a family now. Okay, is it done? Oh no. I was like, oh my god. Like,
I think the thing that I wish they included the most out of the books that was cut out was, so in the books, Sauron does not die at the beginning of the third one. He's kind of taken prisoner, and then he escapes, and he's just kind of a loose end. They go finish killing destroying the ring, come back home. But when they get back to the Shire, Saruman has amassed a little army and has taken over the Shire. And then the hobbits get to show their newfound like skills, and I don't know. And they have like a little battle sequence against Saruman back at home.
Yeah.
And they overcome him, and I don't know. It's a cool little sequence that I'm sad they didn't show in the
Are
movies.
you happy
Yeah.
with Frodo's ending, where he just kind of goes off on the ship?
Yeah, he was done.
yeah.
I
Bye.
am.
Bye, Felicia.
But I mean,
I was
what
fine
else would
with
he
that.
have done? Just hung out?
Yeah.
And
I
not,
mean, he could have had a happy. I don't know,
like Uncle Frodo?
when Bilbo came back, he was just kind of chilling by himself, and
I mean, Frodo suffered a lot more trauma than Bilbo
Yeah.
did.
He was done.
Yeah, I
Ski.
guess so.
He needed to be by himself.
hell, Bilbo had that ring forever and didn't even know what the hell it was.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's true. All right. Well, I guess that'll conclude Nerd Rage, unless you guys have something else to add to it.
I mean, I could go on to this topic.
Yeah, we
for
could talk about
hours.
this.
Really?
Yeah. But anyways, so it's time for Whiskey Sideline. We've got Super Bowl preview coming to you with Garrett, Cody, and Ethan. What do you guys think? Another Chiefs Super Bowl three-peat?
I'm disappointed.
It's Chiefs and Eagles. This was the Super Bowl like 2 years ago, right? Same matchup.
Super Bowl Eagles. Yeah, I think it was.
I think it was the year before last. The same two teams.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. We got a little Saquon
It's
action.
it's the logos. We knew who it was at the preseason.
It's all a conspiracy, isn't it,
It
Garrett?
is.
I will say the Eagles have just been blowing people out, and maybe it'll go into there. We'll get another 50-point game from the Eagles, but they're just running all over everybody. Like Hurts is running long touchdowns, Saquon's running long touchdowns. They just look borderline unstoppable right now.
Yeah, but if you look at the Kansas City front line, like the Chris Jones and that crew, they've been pretty good at stopping the run. So it'll be interesting. I mean, the O-line, you've got a great D-line versus a good O-line. It's definitely going to come down. I mean, how healthy is Hurts going to be? You know, he's kind of had slight knee injury, wearing a brace and different things like that. Patrick Mahomes is probably the most clutch player of all time.
Yeah.
And the refs, I thought the refs called a pretty fair game in the Bills-Chiefs game. So
Yeah, I feel like in that game, the refs going into it were a big talking point.
Yeah.
And I feel like more calls actually went the Bills' way than the Chiefs.
Yeah, there was a statistic, though, that I saw, and this guy was saying that with that specific ref crew, the Chiefs were 5-6, and the Bills were like 6-2. So this crew has in the history, haven't really favored the Bills, but the Bills have won, a higher percentage than the Chiefs have. So
Yeah, and there weren't that many penalties, and it didn't feel like the refs played a big part in it.
No,
so that's
I didn't
good. And
feel
there
that
and
way.
there was no obvious. Oh, he's flaunt. Or
they actually it didn't look like they were even like trying to flop, honestly, or
Yeah.
they just weren't highlighting it as much as in the past. But
Yeah. I don't know. It was a good game. I mean, it's another classic game. I love watching the
Yeah, it
Bills
was a good
Chiefs
game.
matchups. It went down to the wire. If Dalton Kincaid can catch a football, they possibly could have been in the Super Bowl.
I mean,
but-
that was a tough catch, though.
It was,
you are a
it's your
professional. You need to be catching those balls.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a Hail Mary, just throw, he had 3 guys. That Steve Spagnolia, just that blitz call for that line, the cornerback blitz on the corner, that was genius.
I think it just came down to coaching. I think Andy Reid and his crew just outcoached McDermott and them because, I mean, how many freaking 4th and 1 quarterback sneaks did we see, or quarterback sneaks on the goal line? You know, it's just like, obviously they're loading it up and it's been successful all year, but it wasn't working. So just stop.
And I mean, the Bills, they went for two times, didn't get either of them, and then lost the game by 3 points.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of made the difference.
No, those missed extra points, which we talked about earlier. I'm like, that's going to come back and haunt them, and it sure as heck did. But you got to give credit to Kansas City coach, man. The coaching, they're just genius.
Yeah, it's unmatched. So at what point are we allowed to start having the conversation of maybe Reid and Mahomes were better than Belichick and Brady?
If they win this Super Bowl this year.
You would call them better?
No, I'm saying you enter that conversation.
I mean, I think people already have the discussion about Pat Mahomes being like the GOAT. You know what I mean? So
no, I mean, 7 Super Bowls, Tom Brady's hard to beat.
It doesn't seem to be that hard to beat.
Well, Patrick Mahomes will be at the number 4, right? If they win,
yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, he'll have 4 in like less than 10 years.
That's crazy.
And Brady got 7. And
how old is Patrick Mahomes?
He's not 30 yet.
No, he's like 20.
Yeah, that was a discussion I heard earlier. A few weeks ago was is Pat Mahomes the best under 30 athlete of all time in any sport? Like what athlete before they hit 30 had? If he gets this, he'll have 4 championships, several MVPs. How many like Super Bowl
before
MVPs?
he's 30?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, he's 29. He turns 30 on September 17th.
Yeah,
wow,
it's like the best 20s of anyone all time, any sport.
Yeah,
How many did Brady have in his 20s?
Significantly less. I think maybe 3.
Yeah, something like that.
Because he had the 2 first back to back, and then they didn't go to the Super Bowl for like 10 years.
Yeah, I don't know. That'll be an interesting debate.
There's going to be a lot of off-season talk about that once the Super Bowl's over.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's going to be a good matchup. The Eagles are a good team. They've kind of got healthy.
Oh, yeah, they're
healthy
great
at the right time outside of Jalen Hurts. Kind of had knee
Their
issues.
center was limping around in the NFC Championship. Like his knee was acting up or something.
I mean, Saquon's just been unbelievable. Like, it's unheard of how great he's
Maybe
playing.
they'll just call up Jason Kelsey to come in and save the day.
Maybe.
Hey, you have time to get off your talk show and come to try to win us a
Win
Super Bowl?
for us against your brother. You never got to beat your brother?
No.
So, I don't know. That's really interesting. Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. You guys think? I think the rookie of the year, I think it's pretty much Jaden Daniels. I don't know if there's a whole lot of
By the time this comes out, that'll be announced already.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's really a debate there. I think it's pretty single-handedly him at this point.
I don't think,
I mean, what he did in the playoffs, I mean, kudos to him. Washington set up.
Unless they choose the winner before like the playoffs and then they just don't announce it until later.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't know. I think
I think all those awards are technically supposed to be just the season award, like non-playoffs.
So I mean, you could still give it to Brock Bowers for having just an insane season.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably the only other argument you can make. I mean, definitely Jane Daniels statistically. Was
I think
better than Bo
it's got to
Nix.
come down between the two of them, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, Brock Bowers had a hell of a year. I mean, he's an impressive
On
guy.
a really bad Raiders team.
Yeah, really bad Raiders team. I mean, he looks good. That
They had,
guy's gonna be good.
they had some fantasy worthy players between him and a couple of their receivers.
Kobe
and
Myers had some really good games.
they have like nobody's throwing. Like you have Gardner Minshew out there trying to sling it around.
mustache
Aiden
man.
O'Connell.
Aiden O'Connell, yeah.
With great mustache comes great responsibility.
I wanted to ask. So since the last whiskey sideline that you guys did, there's been that's when all the coaching changes happen.
Ooh,
so you guys
we
haven't
gotta
talked
talk
about that at all on the pod.
I forgot. We were supposed to talk about
the
that.
Texans, you finally fired your offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Are you jazzed about that?
You know, I think he did a good job. I don't think it was all his fault. We don't have a line, so Stroud is just getting hounded. I need to look up the stats on how many times he was sacked, but it felt like he was getting sacked in double digits almost every game, just like running for his life.
He was.
We had a lot of injuries.
The receiving core was pretty depleted
We
too.
lost Stephon Diggs, we lost Tank Dell, and we even lost Nico for a little while. And
I
he came
remember
back.
that divisional round with the Chiefs. he kept throwing to these people, and I was like, "Who's that guy? I've never heard of this person before."
He's throwing to Robert Woods.
Yeah, Bobby Trees.
Robert Woods is still alive.
Yeah, he still plays for the Texans.
know,
He'll catch like one pass. You're like, oh yeah, he played for the Rams like 20 years ago.
Yeah, he did. He kept having good years.
Yeah, he was
too,
good. Yeah, he was a
after
good player, good
like
receiver.
fantasy, good stuff.
I mean, Minchie was supposed to be like he was our. So we drafted Davis Mills in the second round that year, and then we drafted Minchie, and Minchie was supposed to be this really good player, and then he got leukemia and had to miss a whole season. So
I didn't know that.
He didn't really have, and yeah. So that I think that's what's affected Minchie, because Minchie was a solid. I don't remember if he was from Alabama.
I'm not sure.
I'll have to look. I think he was from Alabama, but he was like one of the best receivers coming out of that draft. And then, like I said, he got leukemia and missed his rookie year, and so he didn't really get that time to actually develop. And so I think he's just behind. So he could pop up here, and then you got Tank Dell and Nico Collins kind of just took over, and he didn't really get much playing time. And then now this year with all the injuries and stuff, he's gotten a little more, and he's made some plays. He just hasn't been, the player that he was supposed to be. And I think, it's hard to come back from leukemia and just make
crazy.
a difference,
Yeah.
man.
That's tough. Yeah. I know you said something spicy about T. Higgins. There was like a T. Higgins.
There was a
rumor.
tweet where T. Higgins was saying, "Hey, Texans, look at my way," or something like that, And I think it's him and Mixon have had conversations, and like you were saying, it could be,
contract ploy.
it could be a contract ploy for him to get more money. But
Bengals really need to bring him back.
I think T. Higgins, when you get to the offseason, T. Higgins is going to be the biggest name on the market as far as wide receivers, right?
Yeah, he's going to get some big money. I think
he's going to be up there. I'd have to look at all the receivers that are going to be on free agency. But
I think there's going to be some. This is going to be a really good running back class for the draft class. You got a couple of Ohio State. You got Genty. There's some really good running backs coming out. I think there'll be some decent receivers, but yeah, T. Higgins is probably going to be the biggest name.
I think Stephon Diggs was just on a 1-year deal, so maybe
don't
they just like him and they'll bring him back. I don't know.
Possibly. I don't know. It seems like expensive. He's getting up there in age. He's kind of
what did he tear his ACL or something?
Yeah. He's
That's
like
not good.
30 something,
Yeah.
isn't he? So he's getting up there. Yeah. So let's get back to the coach. Your team, Jaguars, got a new coach.
Dude, the saga leading up to the Jags' new coach was insane. Have you guys? Are you aware of anything that happened there?
Not probably as much as you are. Watch more of the Cowboys
I saw
stuff.
that he was talking to them, and then he told the Bucks like, "No, I'm not going there." And then he was like, "Oh yeah, but I am going there."
Yeah.
It's been wild.
Let me give you like a quick bullet point version of what happened. So the Jags have this general manager that they've had for like 6 years. That he's the guy who hired Urban Meyer,
Okay.
which was a big debacle.
Crazy. Yeah.
Didn't go well. Then he hired Doug Peterson. And then Doug
go well
Peterson, they won a playoff game his first year. So that was, everyone was all like, oh, sweet, this might be the guy.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. They fired the defensive coordinator last year. And then for some reason, the GM hired a new defensive coordinator instead of the head coach, which I think that's backwards of how things usually work. Then the Jags had the absolute worst defense in the entire league. So it was like another horrible coaching hire.
Yeah.
Then they fired Doug Peterson after the season, but retain the general manager. And the entire fan base is like, what are we doing? They were dressing up as clowns at games, the fans were. There was a plane flying over the home stadium in the last home game of the year saying, Chad, like that's the owner. It says, Chad, please fire Trent Baalke. It's time, please.
Yeah.
Like a plane flew over the game the entire time.
Yeah.
And then he retained him and was like, we're going to find a new head coach together. We're going to do this together. So the guy that they ended up wanting more than anyone else, they were going to bring him in for an interview, an in-person interview. It's the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers. So the Bucs get eliminated from the playoffs. Then they try to bring him in the next week for an interview. And the guy backs out the day of and says, I'm actually just going to stay at the Bucs. Supposedly they were giving him a pay raise. No one knows. And about 2 hours after he backs out of the coaching race, they fire the general manager. Finally.
Wow.
They canned him.
I didn't hear that part.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that part.
Yeah, it was like the offensive coordinator backs out at 10 a.m. and at noon, the general manager's finally fired. And the entire Jags fan base is like, this guy deserves to be in our ring of honor. Yeah. He's not even working for the organization. He's not our head coach, but he has done us a massive favor. Thank you, Liam Cohen.
Backing out.
So then the next day, it turns out Liam Cohen got on a secret private jet and flew to Jacksonville in the middle of the night and then started having head coaching talks in secret private. Yeah. No one knew about it. And then it came out at 5 p.m. the next day that he was the head coach. And the entire Buccaneers fan base is now like, God, what are you? What are you doing, man?
What happened?
You told us you were back, and then you just snuck over there.
Guess what, guys? I'm not back.
So did they hire a GM, or he's going to be the GM too?
There is no GM yet. So they
Okay.
ended up hiring this head coach, and now the head coach is going to work with the owner to find a GM and build the team that he thinks that he wants with his scheme.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, I mean, gives you some hope at least.
He's made Baker Mayfield look like a G, so maybe
Dude,
if Trevor
yeah.
Lawrence could just stay alive for a whole season.
Yeah, their offense popped off this year. They had Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, always getting 1,000 yards. They had, what was the running back, Buddy?
Oh, Bucky Irving.
Bucky Irving.
Bucky Irving, yeah.
Yeah,
was
he kind of
solid.
popped off. He was great.
And Godwin was like the number one receiver until he got hurt.
Yeah, he was.
I mean,
yeah.
they have a lot of really good, and they've had some other people who, like McMillan, stepped in, and then and even Rashad White had some good games. I think that they had a lot of really good offensive schemes and ideas. So maybe he'll bring a really good offensive, fresh take, I
Yeah,
guess.
you guys
Yeah,
got to
hopefully.
have some good pieces. I mean, Brian Thomas looks like a workhorse.
I mean, what do they do with Etienne though?
yeah, that's a good question.
So Etienne, I think he's got more year on his rookie deal, or maybe they have to franchise tag him. I'm not sure, but
Well, I mean,
Okay.
is he? Are you going in thinking that he's still like the starter? Because he didn't. He kind of looked like almost like he was getting phased out this season. I know he had some injuries and stuff, but
yeah. So there's another running back named Tank Bigsby.
Yeah.
That's the
yeah,
other
they're
guy.
familiar. I had him. He had some good weeks.
They kind of flipped. The idea has always been Tank is like your tough beater that
Malcow.
you send up the middle, and then Etienne's the guy that you do like the little sweeps to try to get out.
and it almost seems like he wasn't into that. And I don't know.
I'm not really sure what happened.
But I mean, if they can play kind of like the Buccaneers, the running backs,
Yeah,
Bucky
like a
Irving
1-2
and
punch.
Rashad White both had
Yeah.
success.
yeah,
So
there were a lot of things that the previous coaching staff in Jacksonville did that did not make much sense on the field, and their misuse of Travis Etienne, I think, is one big thing.
yes.
Because it seems like they had this guy who's great at catching balls and great in the open field, but they just insisted on trying to send him up the center,
middle.
right up the middle. All the time.
Hey, let's send a running back that catches the ball right up the middle
Yeah.
and for a 2-yard gain
Yes.
or a loss.
So other than Brian Thomas Jr., like Ingram's probably not back, right?
Ingram is back. Yes,
Is he back?
Christian
Okay.
Kirk still has
Okay.
one more year on his
Nice.
deal.
Yeah, you guys have some good pieces.
The team is kind of built from the outside in. Like the weapons are all there, but the
Yeah.
offensive line is not good at all.
No, yeah.
Like I assume that's going to be what the new head coach is going to be focusing on this offseason is
I'm
trying
not like
to.
a football expert, but I think that's really important. I'm just joking.
Yeah, the Texans have a similar issue, which
Yeah.
we have Tunsil, and Tunsil does a pretty good job, but he's really the only offensive lineman that does a decent job.
I think Tunsil actually won an award this year over Juwan Taylor. I'm pretty sure he was the most penalized player in the NFL this year.
Oh wow, yeah.
He did get a lot of holding calls.
I think I saw that the other
Well,
day.
if you're the only one blocking anybody,
That's true.
But
Yeah.
his statistics still showed that he was doing a really good job
Yeah.
as far as blocking goes. And then, when you're a left tackle, you're going against the toughest of the tough.
That's
And I feel
tough
like
every
position.
single week.
Wasn't CJ dropping back like 60 times every game too?
I mean,
I feel like he was throwing a lot.
Well,
So-
I actually feel like he wasn't throwing as much this year because we had Mixon, and Mixon was running it a lot. He was getting 20, 25 touches a game. Hell, there was a game where Mixon had like 30 something touches.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I don't feel like Stroud was dropping back as much. And he definitely wasn't throwing as many touchdowns. And like I said, I don't think that's the offensive coordinator's fault. I think so. Going back, I don't know why they ended up firing him. And I'm hoping that we can get someone in there who, I don't know, maybe is a little more creative with the pieces that we have whenever half of the team gets hurt.
Yeah, these offensive coordinators who do something different are all the rage these days.
Yeah, Ben Johnson. You
Ben
saw
Johnson's
that?
big one, yeah.
So he could definitely turn around the Bears.
I think the Cowboys are happy with their hire, right?
Oh yeah, I think I saw so many positive comments coming from the Cowboys fan
Yeah,
base.
they're very, very happy as a fan
Like,
base.
WTF? Like, what are they doing? Like, it's just turned into a joke.
I'm going to call it now. They're going to have their lowest ticket sales this upcoming
They
season.
should stop buying tickets, stop buying jerseys, stop watching their stuff until Jerry either hands over the keys or does something. Like, come on, Brian Schottenheimer. Like, really, dude? Like, come on, man. And then
He's
had
our guy.
Yeah, but they like,
we like our guys.
it's not just that they hired a joke. It's that they were working with Mike McCarthy, didn't fire him or make a decision. They were negotiating with for 3 or 4 days. It's just
I remember with the McCarthy deal, the Bears tried to bring in
tried to
McCarthy for
interview.
an interview, and they denied it, and then
Yes.
just let his contract go. And he was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I guess I'll go interview in Chicago now."
yeah,
I'm surprised Pete Carroll didn't sign there.
yeah.
Like, oh, we need all these has-been coaches come and coach for the Cowboys.
That's what I wanted to ask you about Pete Carroll, Cody, because so now he signed with the Raiders.
yeah, I saw that.
Which that's in the Broncos division.
yeah, I don't know. The Raiders are a joke. They've been a joke for a long time.
So,
so.
what
But Pete Carroll's, I mean, I think he'll be a good coach. I mean, so.
I saw a stat that after he was hired, that division with the Chargers,
Broncos,
the Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Raiders, like all of those head coaches have Super Bowls.
Oh yeah, they do
Every single one.
That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Or I guess Harbaugh's been to
Harbaugh,
one, but he didn't
yeah,
win one.
he didn't win
and
one.
then he went and got a college
College
football
championship. Yeah, that's close to a Super Bowl.
But it's like
Super Bowl light
as far as just the head coaches, that's a stacked little.
stacked division. Well, I mean, 3 teams made the playoffs.
That's
mean,
true, yeah.
that's pretty.
I think the
pretty
Raiders are
good.
just a quarterback away, honestly, from being competitive at least.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the best divisions of football.
It
The
definitely
Chiefs
will
are
be.
definitely carrying them pretty hard.
Well, yeah, but the Chargers look really good. I mean, their coach, they got a good coach. I mean, Justin Herbert's a great quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're a couple pieces away. Broncos, Bo Nix looks great.
Yeah, he does.
Super excited. Sean Payton got to figure out our run game a little bit and bolster our offensive line, add a few pieces on defense. But yeah, I'm excited. I think we have a bright future. I know we got the barn blown off of us against the Bills, but we had a lot of drops, wide open, like just hit their hands, kind of like not like the Dalton Kincaid drop, but yeah, I'm excited. I think you're excited to get. I mean, it'll be interesting to see who you guys hire as a GM. So there's a lot.
Yeah, at the time we're recording this, no one has been filled out in Jacksonville other than the head coach.
What about Bill O'Brien?
I wouldn't mind it if they just brought him in as like a coordinator.
No, as I was saying as a GM, don't do it.
No,
do
no,
not
yeah.
do that. It's a
We're not doing
horrible
that.
idea.
He knows from a guy.
Don't do it. He'll try. He'll be like, oh, we don't need Brian Thomas Jr. We'll get a 6 for him.
Yeah, we'll trade him.
Oh, hey,
We'll trade him for Zeke Elliott and a 6th round pick.
hey, we'll take Kareem Hunt in a 6. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, even
He's our guy.
even if you're a Bears fan, I mean, you got to be pretty excited.
I think
know-
they're pretty pumped. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, their season wasn't great. They've got good pieces: Rome Odunze, Caleb Williams.
They have their receiving core is like everyone says it's the best in the league
very
on
good.
paper.
I just think that some people in their front office just isn't the best, and so it's like they need to make the right decisions now.
Yeah,
And it's like the Bears just never can seem to figure
Well,
that out.
I think
Yeah, the
hiring
Bears'
Ben
problem
Johnson
this
was
year-
a good choice.
This year, I mean, it felt like just like every other team that did not make it to the Super Bowl, everyone needs an offensive line, and
Yeah.
that was, I mean, it was very obvious with the Bears. Like Caleb was just
Yeah.
running for his life.
I mean, he also didn't look very good in some games, and I think that's just the rookie coming out. But I'm hoping this was a humbling experience for him because he was
so
very
cocky.
cocky going
Yeah.
into
Yes.
the NFL.
He
And
quickly learned that he was not playing against random no-name linebackers in the Pac-10.
yeah.
He gets 5 minutes to throw the ball.
Yeah.
60
Kind of
yards
surprised
down the
that his
field.
boy Lincoln Riley didn't come and try to coach the Bears.
Yeah.
Dude, he might.
I mean, I don't think he's
funny.
lasting very much longer at USC.
Yeah, I don't know.
He didn't have all those 5-star quarterbacks follow him.
No, he did
They were
not.
like
No,
He
it's
had
bittersweet.
Caleb, and that was
Caleb
it.
was it.
Yeah. No,
What a
it's
joke.
interesting. Man, it's crazy. It's kind of sad. Like it's bittersweet. Yeah, we're getting to the Super Bowl, and it's another off season.
I know. Yeah.
Kind of sad. And then fantasy football will be right around the corner, man.
Yep, July or August we'll start
Yeah,
looking
I-
towards drafting and
I
stuff.
know. I can't wait to start talking about some previews on the podcast and stuff.
Who's the number 1 pick next year?
Number one
fantasy?
pick? Jameer Gibbs, probably.
Interesting.
Someone was saying Bijan Robinson.
Bijan, probably be arguably. Jameer
Not taking
Gibbs,
him at
Bijan.
1.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. Whoever they put at 1 to like the consensus, like, oh, I'm like, no, I'm not drafting that guy.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a curse.
Yeah,
It's kind of like being
usually
on the
like
cover
the
of Madden.
Yeah.
usually like the 3rd or 4th or 5th kind of guy. Those are the guys that I tend to like.
I feel like consensus one is going to be Saquon. I would assume.
Yeah, I could see
yeah,
Saquon too.
Okay, I could see Saquon. Well, yeah, I guess after this year.
I think he was the
Saquon-
number one this past year, right?
I don't know. Him and Jahmyr Gibbs are pretty close.
Were they?
I mean, Bijan was up there too. Bijan he finished with like 8 or 9 straight 20+ games.
I know it
He
won't be
was-
Brees Hall. I learned from that
Oh, my-
mistake.
Well, and I think Brees is probably better. I think
I think
the
it's
whole Aaron
talent-wise.
Rodgers thing and
Yeah, Aaron
the
Rodgers is
coach
horrible.
and man, yeah, Brees Hall just kind of got screwed this year.
yeah.
I think he's a solid talent. He's obviously
yeah,
he's
talent-wise
obviously
he is.
him and Garrett Wilson are the 2 best players on that team, and they're just like calling plays for 32-year-old Devontae Adams.
I mean, but yeah, he's still good. I mean, but
Yeah, he's good. He did have that one game right before the fantasy playoffs where he had like 40 points.
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I guess Devontae, he'll be a free agent. Maybe he'll be a Texan next year.
No, we're
yeah,
good.
that wouldn't be the worst. If he
I'd
could
rather
stay
have
healthy.
T. Higgins.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, no, I think you also got to think Saquon's going to be getting, I think, turning 29, right? Isn't he 28?
Yeah, he's getting up
I
there.
think I'm pretty sure he turns 28 Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're starting to get up there in age.
Where's Aaron Rodgers going? Is he going to go to the Raiders?
I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going. I think he's going to his couch at home.
Yeah.
You think he's done?
I think he's going to go do Jeopardy or something.
He's got to go, dude. He's like a journeyman where he just kind of goes out and
Yeah.
does mushrooms,
Eats
and
mushrooms.
stuff, and
I need to.
he's gonna go
find my
reflect.
The ayahuasca, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna go
The
reflect
Running
on his
Man.
off season.
I need to go find myself, and then he'll come back. He's
He'll
like
write
43.
a book and get into politics and
Yeah.
Is Russell Wilson going to the Raiders? Let's ride.
maybe Pete Carroll.
Dude, that I could see that happening.
Run it back.
Let's
Let's get Marshawn Lynch back too.
yeah. Mr.
See what he's up to.
Unlimited. He's so cringy, man. I
I
swear.
love Marshawn Lynch. Dude.
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch is the best.
He's pretty
Skittles.
funny.
He is pretty funny.
He's a funny guy.
All right. Do we have anything else? Anything else you want to talk
Any other?
about?
Was there any other coaching changes that we missed?
No,
I mean, the Jets got a new coach. They hired
Yeah,
the
no, we
Lions
don't care.
defensive coordinator.
oh, so Lions got robbed. Man,
Yeah.
they lost their offense.
They always like to get the defensive guys
Yeah, they do.
because I was hearing the rumblings of like Rex Ryan coming back.
Yeah, I heard that too.
I think Rex Ryan was on ESPN all the time, being like, "I want to come. I want to come to New York." Yeah.
Hire me. He's been pretty good.
It says Seahawks hire ex Saints offensive coordinator Kubiak
Oh,
is their offensive coordinator. Kubiak is an old Texans guy.
yeah, I remember Gary Kubiak, right?
It's his. I think it's his son.
Oh,
Oh, is it? Oh, well,
Jerry
hang on.
Kubiak?
Sorry,
No, I
I
don't
just said
know. I don't know what his name
Kubiak.
is.
Oh, yeah, it is his son.
What's his name? Son's name? Full
His son
name?
is Clint Kubiak.
Clint Kubiak. It should be Jerry.
Yeah, I was just
Kubiak.
reading this highline. I saw
Jerry
Kubiak.
Gary.
It says Bears hiring Doyle as offensive coordinator.
Did
They
the
just
Saints
got-
ever hire? They haven't
No,
hired a coach.
at the time of this recording, the Saints are the only ones without a head coach
Wow.
still.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Doyle as OC, Allen as
Nobody
DC.
wants to go there. Mike
Yeah,
McCarthy could go there.
The Bears hired the
Ben Johnson.
Saints
No.
defensive coordinator as their
Oh,
defensive
defensive
coordinator. Or
coordinator.
their
Yeah, yeah.
their past coach, Dennis Allen, as their defensive coordinator.
Oh, I don't know what I'm sorry. My brain's spacing out there. Ben Johnson went to the Bears.
Yes.
Yes.
And
from
Ben
Detroit.
Johnson hired the Saints head coach as his defensive coordinator.
Got it.
And then I think Robert Saleh ended up back in San Francisco as their defensive
Oh, okay.
coordinator.
Interesting. He's a good defensive coordinator.
He was great.
Yeah.
And
The
so-
Jets defense was never the problem.
No, they weren't.
And
They
that's
had
the
a good
thing is
defense.
some people just are not meant to be head coaches.
Yeah.
You're just meant to be a coordinator. And like Mike
He just-
McCarthy just could go. And I don't even think he was a very good offensive play caller, but if anything, that's all he really just needs to do is try to be an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, Saleh just had such sour luck. I mean, the defense the entire time he was there was great.
Yeah.
But they just had like a rotating door of offensive coordinators. Then he had like 3 years sunk into Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. Yeah.
And then they just tried
The
to
mom
become
killer.
the Packers 10 years too late. And
yeah.
And
That's
then
interesting.
obviously Aaron Rodgers was just like not having it in New York.
yeah.
So it's hard to know if Aaron Rodgers was like, if he even still has it, or if it's just like he just didn't give a crap that he was playing for the Jets.
I don't
anymore.
think he has it anymore. His last year that he got MVP in Green Bay, since then he's not been good.
Yeah,
I don't think.
I mean, he's had flashes, but it's been on a decline. I think every year.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's just age. Not everyone can age like Tom Brady.
all right. Well, $1 million question: who you picking in the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I'm going Chiefs.
What about you, Garrett?
I want DeAndre Hopkins to win a Super Bowl, but at the same time, I'm going Eagles.
I should say I want the Eagles to win, but I think the Chiefs are going to win.
I don't know if they can stop the run game. It's going to be tough for the Eagles to win, but with the way that they're running, Saquon's going to break off big runs, and Jalen Hurts, and then you got to worry about Jalen Hurts running, and I think, and then they have AJ Brown and that Goddard played really good today, and
Yeah.
Devontae Smith. Like, there's just so many weapons for the Chiefs to focus on. I think it's going to be a lot. I think it'll be a really good game, though. Maybe it'll be a really high scoring game, and we'll get a really good
that'd be
like
awesome.
50 to 55 to 51 Super Bowl or something. That'd be sick.
I don't know. The Chiefs
mean,
can
the
barely
last-
score over 30 points.
Yeah, the last Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl was a great game.
Yeah.
It was one of those that was down to the wire, like a 1-point win. It was 32
It
to
just seems
31
like
or
Patrick
something.
that always favors Patrick Mahomes. He always pulls a
That's their bread and
trick out
butter.
of
Is
his
one
hat.
score games where they come out
Yep,
in
and
the
win
last
by
2
a couple
minutes.
points.
It's the same with like the Patriots back then. It's like, oh, it's a 3-point game. The Patriots have it with a minute left. GG's.
Yeah. So
Game over.
I'm picking the Chiefs until you show me something different. I mean, I'm going with the most clutch player in the NFL. And that's
Yeah, they're-
Patrick Mahomes.
They're getting into territory where it seems like they just need to be favored every game, no matter what, until
Yeah.
they're not.
Even
you
if they're
know?
not the better team.
It's just like back in the day, you didn't bet against the Patriots. You just don't
Yeah.
bet against the Chiefs.
Yeah, but you didn't bet against Tom Brady. That's the same thing with Patrick Mahomes, and that's where you start getting into the GOAT debate.
Is this Travis Kelce's last game?
I think so. If they win the Super Bowl,
Hang it up?
So. I think he's going to hang it up, ride off in the sunset with Taylor Swift, propose to her, and then
Then we're gonna
focus
get
on his
the Eric.
podcast.
Then we're gonna get the Eric Gray saga.
Yeah, Eric
Ready.
Gray's
Dude, he's like 6'7", dude.
is
He's
it Eric
huge.
Gray or
Is that
Noah
no? It's
Gray?
not Eric Gray.
Noah
It's
Gray.
Noah
Noah
Gray.
Gray. Sorry,
Yeah.
Eric Gray is the running back for the Giants.
yeah, Eric Gray? Okay,
Yeah, Noah Gray. It's gonna be the Noah Gray saga.
he's looked pretty good, man.
He's looked good at
He had
times.
like 4 or 5 games in a row. He had a touchdown. I kept like when I was struggling with a
target.
tight end because I traded Brock Bowers like an idiot this year and ended up not
You
making the
fool.
playoffs by 1 game in his league that he won, and he
I
made
had Brock Bowers.
amazing trade. I won his other league, but then anyway, so
I won this league 2 years in a row,
yeah, you did.
back to back.
I
baby.
won your
I've
league
played
the first
fantasy
year I
for a
won it.
decade across so many leagues, and I've never won a league.
I'm
ever.
sorry.
I win at least like one a
You need a
year.
hug.
Like, most of the time, I'm in up to 3 fantasy leagues.
So I was
pretty
in
much every
3
year.
championships and I only won 1 league, and it was his league, my first year to be in it, which is a live draft. It's a lot of fun. I was actually
Yeah, we're going to Buffalo Wild Wings, and we just hang up a poster and we all go take turns drafting. This last year we went to our friend Mike's house and did it.
yeah.
But that's a lot to put on somebody. I think we might try to just go back to Buffalo Wild Wings this next year. But it's a really fun time. We
Yeah,
we
very good
drink
time.
and make
Yeah.
fun of each other's picks and stuff.
Yeah, show up early, get your wings.
Like, oh, that's a good pick in 2005.
Yeah.
You're gonna take Chris Johnson
There was
now?
a lot of hate going around. Really? Yeah. Oh, like, and then like psyching people out.
It's like, oh, isn't he on IR?
yeah.
Yeah, the league that I live drafted in this past year, we went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and someone selected Dalvin Cook, and it was like a big moment where everyone freaked out.
What round?
So it's an auction draft.
Oh, what did he pay for him?
Yeah, where I think
it.
someone paid like $20 or $30 for
No
Dalvin Cook.
freaking way.
yeah.
They paid
Because
that for
it was,
Dalvin Cook.
we did it the day after he signed on to the Cowboys, and
Wow.
and you know it's a table full of 8 Cowboys fans, so everyone was just
That's
like,
fair.
"Oh, Dalvin Cook's gonna be so good."
But I got Aaron Jones for $6, and then I got James Conner for $7, and I got Lamar Jackson for 12.
Wow.
So my auction draft went really well, and that team was
cool
insane.
value.
And then the guy I played in the semifinals put up like 180 points on me, and then in the championship, or
fantasy.
like I would have been in the championship. My team scored 210 that week, and I was like, yeah, I would have blown. I think the championship was like 120 to 118. I was like, yeah, I would have blown both those guys out of the water.
Yeah.
My team was
Yeah.
insane.
My auction draft this year did not go well. I spent half of my budget on Tyreek Hill and Brandon Ayuk.
Oh, God.
And
Dude, I never
a torn
draft Ayuk.
ACL, and then
Yeah,
the
I
never
worst
draft
season
Ayuk.
of
Miami
Tyreek's
just
career.
fell off the face of another.
I spent $30. I spent over 30 on one player, and it was Garrett Wilson. And and he still had a decent season. And then I spent like 28 on Neighbors. I ended up getting Brian Thomas Jr. for $2.
Dude, that was a steal.
So
Yeah.
like Brian, just to put
Thomas
into
is so good.
perspective, Brian Thomas Jr. is like my 5th best receiver on that team.
wow.
My team was just insane. I'll have to look it up and
yeah,
show
you had
you.
Malik
But
Neighbors too in that league.
yeah, I had Malik Neighbors. I had No, I didn't have Nico in that league. I had Nico in a couple other leagues. I got Nico in like the 5th round, and I think or 4th round in my draft.
Yeah,
like
I
I
think
went, which Olave was the worst pick I've done in my
that's
lifetime.
tough.
But I went Saquon, Olave, Neighbors, Nico.
Wow. Yeah.
And then,
that's
of
good.
course, I lost Olave, Neighbors, and Nico all at the same time. and I had the most points against me by like 100 and something points. It wasn't even close. It was really stupid. But yeah, so my team, Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Garrett Wilson. I did have Godwin, DK Metcalf, Adam Thielen, and then Keon Coleman. I had a couple other receivers. So I guess Brian Thomas Jr. wasn't my 5th. He was at the beginning of the season because then I was playing DK, Garrett Wilson, Malik Neighbors,
Yeah.
Chris Godwin. those
Adam
kinda
Thielen
guys.
has been like a sneaky good wide receiver the past 2 years.
Yes, and he puts up some like 20+ point games just randomly out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
And then I had
can't
I
stay
picked
healthy.
up Bucky Irving. I had Trey McBride.
Bucky
Okay,
Irving was like the
Irvin's-
waiver wire win of the
Yeah,
year.
he
Yeah.
was very good, and Kareem Hunt if you were able to snag him
Mm-hmm.
when Pacheco got hurt. So
Yeah, someone in one of my leagues, someone dropped DeAndre Hopkins the night before he was traded to Kansas City, and then there was like a big waiver wire fight for DeAndre.
Oh yeah, all right.
He had like 1 or 2 good weeks.
yeah,
Yeah, he did.
like fantasy relevant. Like he's been fine there, but
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing about Chiefs wide receivers is a lot of them they just spread the ball so much that you're not really going to get a solid guy. Like you had Tyreek, and then who's the guy that got hurt that they had?
Rasheed Rice.
Rasheed
Rice
Rice was
was
kind of
solid.
getting in there.
no, he was there. He was leading the league in receptions before he got hurt.
Yeah, so I mean, but typically it's kind of the same as like your New England. Like you're not
Yeah.
going to have like
Yeah,
that.
it's not the Chiefs from 5 years ago where they're just
No.
screw it, Tyreek's down there.
Tyreek's getting 40 points.
Yeah, I mean Travis Kelce did have a good run, but he started really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first 4 or 5 weeks, but he had like a good 6-7 week span. But
I think he was just leaving it all in the tank for the playoffs.
yeah, doing what they do to three-peat.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that'll conclude Whiskey Sideline. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to Pop Culture Pour. We're going to talk about our favorite Westerns and maybe some shows too.
Yeehaw, partner.
And then, I don't know.
What tarnation?
There's a snake in my boot. I'll be your Huckleberry.
Speaking of Westerns, so my son, he's 4 years old and he doesn't like wearing shoes because you have to tie them. So he ends up wearing boots around all the time. And someone got him a pair of cowboy boots that fits. So he wears cowboy boots virtually every day with no matter what outfit. And anyway, the other day we went to Walmart.
I had that phase too when I was a kid. I get it.
He said, "Dad, I want to dress up like a cowboy." So he went and got his button-up shirt and his cowboy
Should
boots,
have been a
and his little
cowboy.
cowboy hat, and we went to Walmart and got stuff to make spaghetti for dinner or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
He's just going through a little cowboy phase at the moment.
No, I think I had red cowboy boots when I was a kid, and I
Like Ted Mosby from
yeah,
How I
like
Met Your Mother.
yeah. I remember I would wear, and if my family's listen to this one, they'll be like, "Oh God, I remember those." I remember wearing them. They were like, even when they were too small, and I'd still like just jam my feet in there because I love those cowboy boots so much. So I get it. I mean, we all have that phase where we wore something to death, and it's like I'll wear it 7 days a week, 365. You know what I mean? So.
I got my overalls and my boots with me right now.
All right, this is going to be a great debate. Best or your favorite Western movie of all time, and I think Garrett and I are probably in the same camp here. But Ethan, we're going to start with you.
You want to start with me?
Yeah,
So I think I'm going to go with The Hateful Eight,
Oh, that's a
the
good one.
Tarantino movie.
yeah, that's a good
It's
one.
fantastic. I love movies, and a lot of times you'll see sitcom episodes or like random TV episodes where everyone's trapped in a room together and you can't leave.
Yeah.
Those are always my favorite. Like there's an episode I can think of the TV show Archer, the animated show where they're all stuck in an elevator.
Oh,
And,
yeah, I love
It's
Archer.
just 20 minutes of them all stuck in a very small spot where everyone just has to talk. There's nothing else you can do. I love things like that.
Yeah, and Jennifer, I think Jennifer Jason Leigh is fantastic.
She is, yes.
Kurt Russell puts on a great performance. I pretty much everyone in that movie, like even Channing Tatum, just randomly shows up, and you're like, "Whoa, that's Channing Tatum. He does this pretty good."
I'm going to make a name for myself today.
Similar to
the always
the-
good Tim Roth.
The Aragorn story where he breaks his foot when he's kicking the helmet. It's kind of an iconic behind the scenes story of Lord of the Rings. But the Hateful Eight also has one with the guitar. Have you guys heard of this?
No, I guess not.
Yes, but
So-
it's been a minute.
The main character, she wanders over because she's all chained up, right? And she
Yeah.
grabs a guitar and starts
just starts
singing a
playing,
song.
yeah.
And then is it Kurt Russell or who is it that walks
Kurt
over?
Russell.
And yeah, he walks
Yeah.
over and takes the guitar and smashes it. He's like, "Shut up! I don't want to hear you." So the guitar that she was playing was a priceless relic 1800s Martin guitar that they had got lent from a museum to have in the background. She picks it up and starts playing it. Kurt Russell was not aware of this and goes over and smashes this
it.
like 120-year-old guitar.
I can imagine Tarantino behind the camera going, "Oh,
Well, it's one of those things that like you can't find any auction prices for anything similar to this. It was truly a priceless relic.
Oh
from
Well,
the
it's kind of like
gosh.
in Django Unchained when Leo smashes his hand on the glass and he actually cuts his hand.
yeah.
And so then he starts smearing his blood on her face, and that's like her genuine fear. Like, oh god, there's blood all over my face.
blood on me.
That was the first take, and that's the one they ended up using.
Yeah, that's yeah. Those like movie things, the things that you find out about the story. Like you have a lot of good stories and stuff that we've talked about. So that's what makes it great.
I like watching those just random, like in the movie Gladiator has a lot of sequences where like you can see an airplane in the sky, or you can see
There's
the
a car in the
mechanic that's
background,
flipping.
yeah.
Yeah. Or Pirates of the Caribbean is one of the crew is just kind of chilling in the middle, and you'll just see a random guy with a cowboy hat walk through. I'll have to send you guys that too. It's really funny because you'll never watch these movies the same once you see them.
Also, The Hateful Eight does a lot of. One of my favorite like things they do in movies to tell a story is they'll show a scene from someone's point of view, and then they come back to it later and show the same scene from someone else's point of view.
Oh, yeah.
With like new information that you've learned.
I do like that a
And
lot.
The
That's
Hateful Eight,
such a
that's just
brilliant
kind of all it
way
does, yeah.
to like portray like a story or a movie or anything. I really enjoy that about that movie. I agree.
So I could go with, like No Country for Old Men is considered a Western. It's not really full Western, but it does have some Western vibes to it. I could also go with Django Unchained. I think that movie's fantastic. You get some great performances from Christoph Waltz, from Leonardo DiCaprio, from Jamie Foxx.
Christoph Waltz is so good in that movie.
That movie's awesome. But I'm just gonna go back with nostalgia and just say Tombstone. It's just overall really good. Like, it's not the best Western movie. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
And you get some great lines from that. I actually have a shirt that says "I'm your Huckleberry" on it.
Yeah, that's a great.
That's one of the most iconic movie
Doc
lines of all
Hollywood.
time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm staring at a autograph Doc Hollywood.
Doc
picture.
Holiday.
Doc Holiday. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
I was thinking there's a movie with what's his face?
Val Kilmer?
No. Doc Hollywood, isn't that like
Doc Holliday.
No, I don't know. I'll think of it.
What are you talking
What
about?
is that?
Sorry.
Are you talking about Doc Brown from Back to the Future?
No, yeah. No, there's a
So Val Kilmer plays this character. His name is Doc
It's
Holiday.
not Doc Holiday. It's Doc Hollywood.
Michael J. Fox is in this movie. I'm gonna
Yeah,
pull it
Doc
up.
Brown, Back to the Future. I mean, there's a lot of like westerns that could also be up there, like True
Yeah,
Grit.
Doc Hollywood. I'm sorry.
What are you talking about?
There's a movie with Michael J. Fox, 1991. Doc Hollywood.
Nobody was watched that.
Bullshit. I was a huge Michael. Dude, I love Michael J. Fox. Dude, do you not like Michael J. Fox?
I like Michael J. Fox.
Okay.
I've never heard of that movie before.
Well,
and I
so-
thought we were talking about Val Kilmer in Tombstone, and you just started talking about this random Michael J. Fox movie.
So there's a really good
My
like
bad.
bank robber movie called Hell or High Water that has a lot of western kind of vibes. True Grit is fantastic. It has a very young.
True Grit's really good.
Yeah, that one's a good. It
That's
has a very
excellent.
young Amanda. I think it's Amanda Seyfried who plays.
No, it's Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Steinfeld. Yeah. Sorry, Haley. I was gonna say the girl from Hawkeye.
Yes.
and I just got the name wrong. Who's also engaged to Josh Allen. The assassination of Jesse James by the coward. What is that? Coward. Robert something. I don't know. I can't see that title very good.
Does Holes count as a Western?
I mean,
They're in the desert the whole time.
Rango. That's a good one.
The lizard movie?
You're like not even talking about some of the classics like Lonesome Dove,
The Revenant.
The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. You need to watch that one. That's an old school.
I know the
You
the
just
soundtrack.
said Lonesome Dove because it's right there.
Is that not a great Western
It
movie?
is a classic. It is a classic.
The soundtrack from Good,
Dances
Bad,
with
and Ugly
Wolves.
is- Oh, does
Yeah.
that count?
Kevin
I guess
Costner.
so, yeah.
Which
wanna-
one?
Dances with
Oh
Wolves.
god, is that considered a Western?
I would think so.
I mean,
there's
you've also got
Cowboys
like
and
Yellowstone
Indians.
is definitely a Western, right?
Ooh, we
it's
did
not
talk-
a movie, but
Oh, this
Yeah.
says Brokeback Mountain.
yeah.
Ethan, isn't
really
that
like
your
that one.
favorite?
Ain't No Country for Old Men is on it. Robert Ford. That's what it is. Coward Robert Ford.
No
Jeez.
Country for Old Men. I understand that it could be classified as a Western, but it's so weird that they're just driving around cars and you know, hanging out in motel rooms and stuff.
I don't put that in the Western category, but I will.
Choose. I'm going to flip a coin. You choose heads or tails.
It is a good movie, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's one of the
He
best.
walks around with that huge CO2 tank the whole time.
yeah.
But that's one of the best. That's one of the best like performances
Oh, yeah.
of like the last 20 years.
Does anybody need any oxygen? No, I'm gonna have to go with Tombstone. Tombstone is iconic. I've watched that probably 45 times, if not more.
You tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many good scenes in that movie. And again, this is all our opinion, right? So not saying it's definitely the best. There's so many good westerns out there. I mean, you mentioned some, you mentioned a few. I mean, there's so many good
Yeah,
ones.
I grew up. My grandma anytime we went to go visit my grandmother, she always had some John Wayne movie on.
Oh yeah, my
That
grandpa.
it was just always in the background on her TV.
Yeah, my grandpa
told you
watches
my-
westerns nonstop.
I told you my teacher story about what's his name, Clint Eastwood, didn't I?
Yeah, he claimed it came to him.
My teacher was a professor.
Oh, you
And, and he didn't think Clint Eastwood would be a big star, so he didn't want to be his producer.
Yeah, that's like me not buying Bitcoin when it was like 25 cents and things. But
You could have jumped on the meme coin with Hawk Tuah girl.
I could have, man.
Could have lost
I
a lot of
missed
money,
out.
too.
Yeah.
She got a lot of money in her. Yeah.
Dude, she's made a lot of money. That's so nuts. Like you just become one of the most famous people in the world.
Just for saying stupid on the internet.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
Continue making stupid people famous. Is
You guys
what,
talked about
is what
it.
America's known for.
You guys talked about it a couple episodes ago, but that being a plot line of Squid Games,
Oh,
like one of the side
yes.
characters'
Yeah, no.
backstory was that he created a meme
big
coin.
Yeah,
Created a
meme
meme coin,
coin.
and there were multiple people that was pissed off because they lost him.
Yeah.
He lost them a
Yeah.
lot of money.
That's a whole in season 2. That's a whole like thing that like they're like,
He goes
kind
on
of his
for
little
I'm
subplot.
getting my
Yeah.
money back from you. What was
Yeah.
that
you owe
guy's
me
name?
money. Oh, Thanos.
Thanos.
Thanos guy, yeah.
He's like a rat, like
He had
a.
his nails painted the different
Japanese
colors.
I
rapper.
forgot
Yeah.
you have to listen to all these. So you're like, oh, he just spoiled it.
Hey, I've got something really important to tell you guys.
What's that?
Thanos was right. I'm just checking.
I mean, I don't think he was
Debatable.
wrong.
No, he wasn't.
He had a point. He went about it
Yeah.
wrong.
So I know Garrett hasn't watched this yet, but how you just finished Penguin, right?
I
How
did,
good
yes.
is that show?
It was so good.
It's Colin Farrell is like
Dude, Colin Farrell's great. So, 2 of my all-time favorite movies in my top 10 have Colin Farrell in it.
that's not surprising. Colin Farrell's a great actor.
I'm kind of sad that they called it I mean, it's just kind of a generic mob movie.
It is.
They could have
Yeah.
not called it the Penguin and not had him dress up that way and not, said anything about the city Gotham or anything, and it still would have been super
It was like
good.
The Sopranos and Batman.
Yes, it was
They
very
really
good.
was.
It was very,
I
very
really
good.
enjoyed it. If you haven't watched it, if you like even if you don't like Batman, if you like mob stuff, mafia things, it's just a great show. Really good.
There were a lot of like old callbacks to the Long Halloween, the Batman comic. I don't know if you guys
it's so
are like
good,
comic
yeah.
readers, but
Yeah.
the main character in the show is Sophia Falcone, she's in that comic, and I don't know. There were a lot of kind of nods to that. Which something that struck out to me was in the old Christopher Nolan movies, they say Falcone. Falcone is the name, and then in
Yeah.
this new ones, like the Matt Reeves verse, it's Falcone, and that's interesting to me that they changed the
changed that.
I
pronunciation.
think Falcone is how it's supposed to be, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he called him Ra's al Ghul, and I think it's supposed to be Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, something along those lines.
So it's like, I don't know if Christopher Nolan did 100% of his research on the names. But
Yeah, but Christine Milioti, is that how you
Yes.
say it?
I think it's Kristen or something. Yeah.
Kristen Milioti is absolutely phenomenal.
What a performance! Yeah.
Yeah.
Has she gotten nominated for anything? I
I
don't
think
really
she
keep up
got
with
him
the
a
award
Golden
shows.
Globe, but I'm
Did she? If she hasn't, she deserves it
Man.
because her acting from a crazy person to a mobster to a queen,
Yes.
like it's so good, and her transformation in that show is so good.
Yeah,
Like,
there was a scene with her backstory where it shows her like so innocent and not
Yeah.
really knowing anything, and you can the little subtle differences she does between that and then modern day like traumatized.
yeah. So it was kind of funny because when she's in jail, and I don't want to ruin the whole show or anything, but the girl that was in the cell next to her, I kind of thought that was
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn.
I did too.
And then because the way she talked.
And she was laughing.
Yeah,
and
and
giggling the
then
whole
she
time.
got her face smashed in.
she was
but-
nominated for Best Actress for the Golden Globes.
for the
Okay.
Penguin.
She didn't win, but she was nominated.
I'm glad
Oh,
she got
okay.
at least a little bit of
Yeah,
recognition. She was very good in it.
Very good. What one? Do you know?
I'll have to look that up.
Okay. Well, it's a really good show. Garrett hasn't watched it, so
I would recommend it if you're watching this or
Yes.
if you're listening to this and you're looking for a show to kill time with on the evenings. Turn on the Penguin. It doesn't have any ties to Batman really.
no.
You can get by and not even notice that it's in Batman's world.
The cool thing though,
It's
it
just-
does pick up right after the last Batman movie.
It does, yeah.
So
that kind
where
of plays
the
a part.
Flood the city.
Yeah, one of the side characters, his background was yeah.
Guy that can't. He's got a stutter.
Yes.
What are you talking about? But he's so good now.
He was. He was very
He
good.
saves
Oh.
the Penguin like 4 times.
So Jodie Foster won for True Detective Night Country, which is actually very good. I need to finish it. I've watched the first few episodes of that, and it goes back to old.
yeah, that's on my to watch list.
It's really good.
And
It
I
takes
hear it's
place
really
in like Alaska in like
Yeah.
It's a really cool setting. For
I watched the first season of that show, and then I always heard that none of the other seasons were as good, so I've never watched anymore.
I think it's season 3 with the guy who's going to play Blade. I can't think of his name. Mahershala Ali. That one's really good. The one with Colin Farrell is actually horrible. It's got like Colin Farrell. It's got Vince Vaughn. It's got all these interesting, but it's just such a dumb story of like just political corruption. It's like that's just not interesting. I want to see serial killers and stuff.
I remember that whole first season. They kind of kept hinting like, is there some kind of swamp dude with some kind of superpowers? That's And I kept thinking the entire time like, let's go full. Like I want to see a full on Swamp Thing.
Oh, dude, I used to love watching that when I was a kid.
Give me some kind of yucky swamp supervillain, but it was just some guy. And
dude, and Alexandria Daddario, that's my hall pass. Like she's
okay. Yeah. I think Selma Hayek's still up there, even though she's like 90.
Have you seen Alexandria Daddario in True Detective?
No.
She looks good.
Okay, I'm sure she does. No, is she in the first one?
Yeah, she's in the first season.
She's the college girl that
Woody Harrelson's like side piece. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
He's like, yep. Okay.
I get you.
I know what you're talking about.
Can I ask an important question? Is that Blade movie ever going to come out?
No.
Yes.
Is it?
It's been getting delayed.
2039.
And they're eventually going to do like very mystical Avengers type thing with like Ghost Rider, him, and Moon Knight, and it's going to be what are they? The Midnight Suns.
Yeah, the Midnight Suns.
So that's eventually going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen before Secret Wars. We might get the Blade movie in 2026, 2027.
It's crazy. See. I remember Mahershala Ali won an Oscar for something. I don't remember what for, but he won an Oscar.
Green Book, I think.
And then
Moonshine.
Yeah, that's right. And then they signed him on for Blade, and everyone was so jazzed. And now it's been like 8 years ago.
Well, they've also gone through a bunch of script changes, a bunch of directors. The whole problem was Marvel, and that was the whole time frame where Marvel was trying to push all this content, and they were trying to push She-Hulk and trying to push Miss Marvel, and they're like, well, we can have Blade, but then a female Blade will take over. And Mahershala was like, no, that's not what I want to do at all. And so,
yeah, it seems like one of those things where they didn't have any plans for the character, nothing written, but they went ahead and signed on a popular actor for the role, and everyone got all jazzed about it. And now they're just kind of sitting there, kicking their feet.
But he is still signed on. They did get a new director. I can't say when that's actually going to come out, but it would be really cool to see the Midnight Suns, because I've actually heard that Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider might show up in Secret Wars. So I'm just super jazzed for that.
I feel like that's been rumored for like 4 movies.
But I've also heard that Ryan Gosling might play the MCU Ghost Rider. So
really,
that'd be kind of interesting.
That'd be cool.
It was Norman Reedus, who I actually think would have been really cool.
The Walking Dead guy.
Yeah, the Boondock Saints guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I love the Boondock Saints. Have you seen the Boondock Saints?
No, I never have.
Oh, they're classics, man.
What?
Yeah. There's a big gap in my movie history of having not seen a lot of
Do me
the
a
old
favor
classics.
and go watch that movie, and then call me right after.
I'll add it to the list of classics that I have not seen that I should watch.
Let's bump that up the list there, sir. Have you seen The Godfather?
No.
Have you seen Goodfellas?
No.
All right, I'm about to punch you in the face.
Wow.
All right, well,
we're not talking about mob movies with Ethan.
Yeah, he's not allowed back on the podcast. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, the Penguin is like all the experience I have with mob movies.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to ask a serious question. What is the most cringe scene from The Boys?
Oh, God. I don't even want to talk about that.
Just kidding.
Oh, goodness.
But that is
I
a
love
good
The
show.
Boys, but there are some scenes where
I
like,
do love
whoa,
that
they
show.
just went there. That's super
It's
crazy.
got to be some of the octopus stuff with the deep, right?
Oh, no. I think, dude, I don't even want to talk. I don't even feel comfortable talking about it.
And then he made the deep eat it. It's like, wow, dude. And it turned out not to be the right octopus, and then he ends up murdering that octopus. The Deep is a very troubled character.
That show is
he's
very...
like a does a lot of very bad things to Starlight. Then he gets kind of kicked out, and then he gets put in like a religious cult. Mm-hmm. He's just kind of gone through the whole ringer.
Yeah,
man.
he really has.
It's funny to me. So the first
I
season,
love his character, though.
one of the characters, her main like feature as a character is that she was sexually assaulted.
Mm-hmm.
And then this past season, one of the main characters who is a male was sexually assaulted, and it was just played off as a joke.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that stinks.
Yeah.
Oh, moving on.
Yep.
Yeah, that's...
Welcome to 2025.
Yeah. No, I mean, The Boys is a really good show. For a show, I've never watched a show that I've enjoyed as much as The Boys, and just like it has so much cringy stuff in it, and I'm like, oh god, I don't like it's hard to some of it's hard to watch, but it's so good.
Dude, I can't wait for this last season. And they're bringing back Soldier Boy.
Yes.
And then they're also
Oh,
bringing
yeah, I saw
Jared
that.
Padalecki. So they're going to have all the supernatural guys in there.
Yeah,
I was so excited.
this
so
is
they
the
got
last season, right? Or the last part?
Yeah.
They,
it's
yeah, I
supposed
think
to be
that's
the
what they're
last
saying.
one.
There was that one season where they had the lady who could shoot lightning out of her hands. What was her
yeah.
name?
Oh,
I don't remember the character's name, but she was an
The
actress
Nazi
in
lady?
Yes.
Okay.
She was an actress in one of my favorite shows of all time. It's called You're the Worst.
Oh, I watched that show.
It's phenomenal.
I don't-
It's
I've
one of
never
my
seen
favorite
that.
shows ever. It's
It's
so
about
good.
it's basically about like depression and stuff, and
Okay.
these two like try to be together, but they're both very conflicted characters. Like actually, my friend Casey Miller, that's his favorite show, and so I actually watched it based off his recommendation. And then I saw her, I'm like, oh yeah, she was in You're the Worst.
I remember being so excited that so You're the Worst, I think, had just ended, and then she signed on for The Boys, and I was like, my girl, cool, she's getting some,
and
some
then you're
big
like,
name
oh
stuff.
no, she's a Nazi.
Oh no, she's a Nazi.
yeah. Oh god.
There's been a lot of characters though, and it's hard to remember all their names because they just kind of come and go.
Yeah,
a
they
lot of
come
them.
and then they die, and then they're forgotten about.
yeah, really
the
quick.
the guy who plays God in Supernatural is a pretty interesting character.
Was that the guy that can clone himself?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And then he gets pink eye.
yeah.
Dude, the one-off character that traumatized me the most was the guy that they did like a knockoff of Daredevil, and they were like, let's bring this guy into the 7, and it was him like doing some
Oh,
flips around, and
yeah.
they were
yeah.
like, oh yeah, he can feel feel sound waves and everything, and the Homelander just walks up to him and bashes his ears.
Yeah.
He's like, can you feel it now, buddy?
Yeah.
And then he just leave.
Homelander's so crazy, man.
Dude,
And,
he's
You know,
nuts.
and
Yeah.
I think the only issue I have with the show is I don't know what they're trying to do with the son character. He's done so many things. I get that he's conflicted, but it doesn't seem like he has a path to where they're trying to.
Yeah, is he gonna be good, bad? He's gonna kill everybody. What's gonna
I
happen?
don't know. He's kind of an annoying character to me, and I'm just like, I wish they would
Yeah,
just
but
figure his stuff out.
I think that hopefully they will in the last season.
His
but if they
storyline
don't, it's
reminds
gonna be
me.
weird.
Did you guys ever see the movie? I think it was called Brightburn, and
Yes.
it was about like if Superman was a troubled teenager.
Oh,
who
okay.
wasn't
it was
just a-
good, but really horrible CGI. I guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
his storyline kind of reminds me of the setup for that movie.
And it's like it doesn't make sense when they go bad. You know, it's like Butcher's been trying to push him to be good, and
He loved his mother.
he loved his
mother
mom and wanted, and now he's just like, oh, well, I'm a psychopath now. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we get it. You have some Homelander in you, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel right to me. And whenever he killed the older lady, and it kind of just pissed Butcher off for
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Like I was
oh,
like,
the
that doesn't
military
feel-
lady. I
Yeah.
forgot.
I was like, that doesn't feel right. You know, that doesn't feel like something. But I don't know. We'll see in this last season if they make. But Butcher venoming out in that last episode.
Yes,
I'm
that was
like,
pretty
oh my
cool.
god, dude,
That was
that's
cool.
gonna be so sick.
Yeah, that was
His
pretty
cancer turned into venom. Who's your favorite character?
My favorite character. I don't know. I have a big love for speedsters. I love fast characters.
Well, and they made him really good. Like he's actually had probably one of the best progressions on the show.
Yes, he's had a very good character progression of just being this jerk that had some trauma and now is not so bad of a guy. And I don't know, speedster powers are always the coolest to me. So
And this is probably going to be weird. I like the Deep. I think his
Of course you
comedic
do.
relief.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Like I think he's the funniest character on the show, and he's not like, oh, I like Butcher too. Butcher's just probably one
I
of
did
my
like
favorites.
Black Noir when he was seeing all those cartoons.
yes, that was
Hell
good.
yeah.
That was pretty funny.
The new Black Noir when he just starts floating, and they're like, "No, stop it!"
Yeah, he's like, I just don't know what is my purpose. I need to understand. He's like, killing is your thing, man. And then it gets a hard on or whatever for killing
I actually
somebody.
think I really like Soldier Boy though. I think Soldier Boy is great.
Yeah,
he's just
Soulja
like
Boy's pretty cool.
he's like, man, my kid's kind of a wiener.
The show's just weird, man. It really is, but it's a good show. Do not ever watch that anywhere close to any children.
Oh, absolutely not. No, no, no.
You
Hey,
need
get
to
your
be
children
like
in there
35
young.
to watch that show.
I was like 8 when I started watching Halloween. Like
Yeah,
whatever.
This is way worse than Halloween.
Hey,
The first horror movie I ever snuck watched behind my parents' back was I Know What You Did Last Summer,
oh, that's a good one.
and I'm still haunted by it.
dude,
the dude with the
Chucky,
big raincoat.
Chucky was
Yeah.
mine. I was sitting on
Hey,
the stairs. I'm like,
they-
oh my god, the doll's gonna kill me.
They're doing a new I Know What You Did Last Summer with the original cast.
Really?
Yeah. Freddie Prinze Jr.
The
and-
hook.
That's awesome.
That stuck with me for so long because I saw
I'll
it so
definitely be
young.
watching that.
Dude, whenever she's on the stage doing the play and he's up there like murdering her boyfriend, yeah, that's a sick scene there.
Yep.
All right. Do you have anything else for Pop Culture Pour?
No, I don't think so. I think we're
Okay.
good.
All right, we're going to move over to Neat and Balanced. I'm going to talk about 2 sweeteners that are good for you and you can replace in your diet to get rid of that sugar. One is honey. I'm sure you're not surprised by that. And the second, and I'll talk about in a second, but honey is really good for you. And you don't need to be dumping honey all over anything you eat. It's not like you just go out and like, oh, I'm going to pour half of this thing of honey, like a couple teaspoons of honey. Has been shown actually there's a ton of health benefits. It can be a cough suppressant. It can be an anti-inflammatory. There's some studies that show it can be good for your skin. It's really just a great. It's something I started adding a couple teaspoons, excuse me, to my Greek yogurt and or my oatmeal when I eat in the mornings. It's also they've done some recent studies that have come out also too that. It's been an appetite suppressant. So I guess from a psychological standpoint, it has a lot to do with something called PYY, which is a peptide that it's something that regulates kind of your appetite suppression with your ghrelin, which is a appetite hormone. But yeah, honey's a really good option. Also, too, something that I have not just recently started adding back to my diet because I used to eat a lot of sugar-free syrup, but maple syrup. Has a ton of benefits with antioxidants. It's lower glycemic. It helps fight inflammation, improve digestion. I can't talk. Digestion. Excuse me. Yeah, this Maker's Mark Celerage that we're drinking, it burns a little bit in a good way.
What do you think about it, Ethan?
It's very good. Yeah, I like it a lot.
This is a lot older.
It
than
amps
Maker's Mark.
amps it up a little bit. Sorry about that. It's good for your skin. So, I mean, these are both 2 good options. Again, both of these sweeteners are all about the quality. You can't just buy the cheapest version. You want to buy like 100% honey. You want to buy maple syrup from like Canada or from up north. So highly recommend both of those supplements. There's a ton of research coming out, ton of research you can find online. But these are really good replacements. A lot of people are starting to use maple syrup in their old fashions as well. I've seen some recipes on. I've actually tried it. It's actually really good.
Yeah, the protein balls I was making, it said you could use maple syrup or honey. So
Yeah, I haven't tried honey. That's actually something I'm good. So again, Neat and Balanced is all about trying to do healthier, trying to be balanced, and yeah, so you can use these things for sugar replacements, put them in your old fashions, to spice that up a little bit. And again, they have a ton of benefits, and I could talk about this for forever. There's so many different things helping reduce your sweet cravings. I've got a sweet tooth. I don't know. I know Garrett does as well.
for sure.
Yeah. So
I just ate that whole pack of Samoa or Girl Scout cookies.
we did not eat. If
You can't talk about that during
Yeah, you
Neat
can't
and
talk about
Balanced,
that.
dude.
for
I
sure.
will say something I have recently got into is I'll make like a cup and a half of just plain coffee, like cold brew coffee. It's like 10 calories, and I'll add a whole thing of the 42 gram protein Fairlife.
Yeah.
and make a protein coffee. It's super good. It's really addicting. So
No, that's
it's like my
such
new
a good
coffee
idea
thing.
too. Again, we've talked a little bit about adding protein and stuff in previous podcasts and Neat and Balanced, and I think that's a really smart way to get quite a bit of your protein. It can
You
get
get
a little
protein
pricey.
and a better coffee that way you're not
Yeah.
adding like all those syrups and creamers.
No,
and stuff.
too, and you could also even if you wanted to do like a little mixture of your own protein shake. I buy protein in the bulk if you didn't want to buy, because those pre-made protein shakes are pretty expensive. You could just whip up your own and then pour it in your coffee, make a little iced coffee. I think that's a brilliant idea. Honestly, can't even believe I've never even thought about that. So
I thought about it because I went to the place in Sherman and she made me one, and I
Yeah.
saw her pouring Fairlife. I'm like, oh my god, that's such a good idea. Fairlife's so good.
yeah, that's a really good idea. So yeah, so honey and maple syrup, again, quality in the products, check them out before I highly recommend do your own research. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. But these are 2 things that there's a ton of new research coming out, medical studies, both supporting both of these as sweetener replacements. So
I get so excited when I go to any kind of farmer's market or a flea market or something, and I see someone who has bees and has some local honey that you can buy from them.
it's the
Man,
best.
bees are
Yes.
important.
Hey,
I
bees
love-
knees, man.
Bees are an important part of the ecosystem.
They're probably one of the most important things on Earth. I mean, I think they are responsible for like 80% of the vegetation. Like I don't know. I can't even think.
Like pollinating?
Yeah, pollinating, like producing. Like if bees go extinct, you could see like I think our whole world would collapse. The apocalypse would start. Like that'd be an interesting topic to talk about. How important bees are to save the bees, please.
The bee's knees.
I've also heard that there's like a few months every year where pollen's just crazy around us, and I get really bad allergies. And I've always heard that local honey, if you just take like a spoonful every day, helps with that.
Yeah. They have the Texas honey, and that's what I heard because they are also around those same pollens.
Yeah, it
and
like
stuff.
acclimates you to the local pollen. If you,
I have noticed that when I put, because the one I have is the Texas raw honey. When I do notice my allergies seem better when I do put that in stuff. So that is a good.
Yeah, so I hope you enjoy Neat and Balance. That's going to take us to Last Call with the Bourbon Nerds. So today on Last Call, really, we're just, I don't know, we can talk about whatever we want.
Ethan, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man.
Did you have fun with this episode?
Did I what?
Did you have fun with this episode?
Yeah, we talked about my favorite thing in the world, Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Is that your favorite thing?
It's my favorite, like, fictional series of all time.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that.
How are you liking the Maker's Mark Cellar Aged?
So the only Maker's Mark that I've ever had before sitting down to film this podcast was just generic Makers.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I
still think I'm leaning towards the, what was it?
The Stave Wars?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
I think I am.
That's crazy. Okay, well, good.
No, there's nothing wrong with
Hey,
that.
different palates.
Different palates. My
Different
palate is
people.
definitely not as like mature as your guys's.
No, but you're entitled to think and.
I mean, the Cellar Age, what is it's 119.3 proof, so it is a little bit higher proof.
So,
But it is, what is it, 15% 12-year-old
That one is
and
good.
85% 13-year-old? Yeah, it's.
I don't.
What is different about that one compared to the other ones?
Oh, this is
Aged.
it's 12 and 13-year-old blend
Yeah.
of bourbons, and it's 119 proof, so it's a
the
lot
age,
it's a little
man.
higher proof also.
It's all about the age. But I will say, so I'm ready to crown a winner. We didn't really talk about that before we.
I feel like a lot of times we don't end up crowning the winners. When I go
guys
back
always
and listen to
No, I always crown a winner because I interrupt you all the time. Like, da-na-na, da-na-na, trying to crown a winner.
There were some earlier episodes where I think we forgot.
Probably. I don't know.
Are we talking about just the Stave Wars and
Yeah,
the cast
obviously,
strength?
Cellar Agent blows these out of the water.
Well,
Not
no, we
blows
could
these out
also
of the
put the
water.
101 in there.
I haven't tried that yet. Today.
I poured the 101 for you earlier.
What? Did you really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember having it. Anyways, I got from the Someone Say Whiskey Pig versus the Maker's Mark Cast Strength. I choose the Cast Strength. That's
you.
It's just it's full bodied. It's rounded. It punches through. It gives me those delicious caramels. Those caramels and
Those vanillas,
spices and
those oak.
yeah. So I think it's really good. But obviously, the Maker's Cellar Age just is everything I want in a bourbon. If it's like the dream Makers, if you could make Makers perfect, it's not perfect. It's not a George C. Stagg or anything like that, but it's very good. So
It definitely is up there for sure. I love the Cellar Aged. Hopefully I can get a 2025 and give that a shot, but it definitely is above all these other ones. But I will say
sleep
the
on it.
Cast Strength.
don't
A lot
sleep
of
on it.
people, huh?
I said, don't sleep on the Cast
Oh, I
Strength.
don't think anyone's sleeping. Oh, the Cast Strength, yeah.
Yeah.
So some people actually say the Cast Strength they feel like it's up there toward the Cellar Age because it's
Hey,
just a higher
you
proof
can't
bourbon.
triple stamp a double stamp. You can't triple stamp a
I can
double
do what I
stamp.
want.
You,
I do what I want. What I
want-
really, really want. Say you know what I want. What I really, really want.
Oh, Spice
So-
Girls, nice.
yeah, that was okay. Spice Girls. I remember. I got to tell you
Small
a story.
soldiers, baby.
I got to tell a real quick story. So I remember my sister got the Spice Girls album, and she used to lock her door, would turn her stereo up literally to the highest decimal point without blowing her speakers, and would lock her door and could not get in and play that song for 1,000 times, and it literally would drive me nuts.
My sister and I watched the movie, the Spice Girls movie, when we were kids.
Dude, that
where they,
movie
like, get
is
abducted by aliens.
super hard the Spice World movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
That movie is actually one of the rarest DVDs to find.
Really?
Yeah, I had an ex that wanted it for Christmas, and the only way I could find it was like $200 online.
Really?
Holy
I think
cow.
we had it on VHS.
I
when
mean,
was
it
a
might be
kid.
worth something.
We could be flipping Spice Girl DVDs. That could be rich, man. Buying
But I was
Maker
like,
Cellar
holy
Age
crap,
and
that's
George C.
so
Staggs
wild.
of that. If you knew now, right? So, do you want to talk a little bit about the last call before we move on and close this bad boy out? We are coming out with some videos, so please check us out on YouTube, TikTok if it stays around. We've got some really cool things. Should be hopefully pretty. I would say within the next 30 days we'll have merchandise, if not sooner. Be prepared for that, if not sooner, because again, this is the future me talking to you right now.
This will be coming out the day before the Super Bowl, I think.
Yeah.
So I hope everyone's got their Super Bowl plans lined up.
Yeah,
you got
Super
all your
Bowl.
chip dip
eat your
ready to go.
Earlier we gave you our predictions and what we thought was going to happen. So hopefully you have your
jalapeno
predictions in.
poppers. Yeah.
Are the rest going to play a part?
We should have talked about Super Bowl foods. That would have been fun.
Neat and balanced Super Bowl food.
Yeah, it's too late now.
Lame.
Literally
I want,
ate a pound
I
of
want all the
cheese
junk
dip.
food.
Yeah. Girl Scout cookies, cheese
Just make
dip.
cheese dip, man.
There's not much balance and neatness here, guys.
Neat and balanced. We're gonna eat jalapeno poppers.
Yeah, but I wanted to reiterate, we've hit over 500 downloads. I know some of our videos are getting into the thousands. I think my one video had like
There's
7,000.
a TikTok of you at Whiskey Cakes that almost has 10,000 views on
Yeah,
TikTok.
Wow.
that's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's pretty crazy.
I know, and a lot of people that was like, oh, that's nothing. I've got millions of views.
Yeah, and you
but-
actually have to have like 10,000 followers to even think
Yeah.
about getting any kind of
yeah,
payment.
Monetization.
any kind of
Newsflash,
monetization.
we
It's
don't have
ridiculous on
10,000
TikTok.
followers.
We're like we have 250 followers. So we're
Yeah,
not
but
even
we do
close.
have some really good people that are supporting us, people that are encouraging us, people that are giving us good feedback, and yeah, we really enjoy it. And Ethan's been a big help in what we do, and we're excited to have him back on the podcast, and maybe you'll hear from him again. I don't know. He has to go watch some mob movies before he's allowed back on the podcast. But
He's
Some mob
100%
movies and some westerns.
He's definitely
Yeah.
going to be on the Star Wars one. It's
yeah.
going to be.
Again,
I can't wait. Dude.
I have a lot to say about Star Wars.
We should just like skip all the others and be like, we're going straight to pop culture pour Star Wars. Here we go.
4
Special
hours.
episode, yeah.
It's a 4-hour episode.
Ethan gets trashed and
I think maybe-
rants about Star Wars.
I think May the 4th is actually like on a Sunday or Monday.
Which bourbon are we going to talk about?
Redwood Empire.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Empire Strikes Back.
yeah, Redwood Empire Strikes Back. Just a short preview for a couple months away.
That'll be a fun one. All right. Well, I'm Cody,
I'm Garrett.
and we are the Bourbon Nerds.
Have a good night, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening.